Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on April the 18th, 2017. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, my post-Easter bunny.
Why does that sound a lot worse than what it probably is?
Because it is. On today's show,
Wait, does that maybe you're Sean Spencer?
Yes. Maybe.
He was the Easter bunny in the Bush administration.
Oh my. On today's show, we will of course be discussing the games that we played. We'll be discussing how the media doesn't understand video games. Nintendo discontinues the NES Classic Edition. There's a rumor that Halo 3 is finally coming to PC. The original Starcraft is now free. Crytek Shanghai closes after not paying employees for 6 months. We'll have our weekly community corner. With our Fonzie this week, we have Ghost Shark with a very long Star Wars letter. And we'll have our weekly Discovery Queue. Also, timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hey, how are you, Rach?
Doing all right. Ghost Shark didn't manage to kill my Sherpa this time. Barely.
Almost, yeah, almost.
Yeah,
it's a long one.
Yeah, nursing him back to health after we're done with this.
Yeah, I'm not going to cut any of the content of it, but I am going to cut out some of the silences and maybe speed it up by a percentage point or two. Knock one of those 16 minutes off of it. We'll see, though. We'll see.
Wait, you're going to knock it down to 6?
No. Oh, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. I see what you did there. Nerd. So what's been going on for you this week, buddy?
Not a lot.
Oh, that's good. That means that you won't waste much of the time that I'm about to spend talking about all the things for me.
Yeah, you have a lot going on.
I do. Some of it's actually gaming related too, so it's not like we're stumbling off too far off track.
For once.
Yeah. I suppose I'll talk about the episode stuff at the end, because it fits well with that section. But I'm going to be getting a VR device soon. I bought the new Galaxy S8 Plus, and they're running a promotion with the S8 and the S8 Plus. If you buy it right now, you get a Gear VR for free. So that'll be here in the mail, hopefully in a couple of weeks. It didn't say, I redeemed the thing, and it didn't say how long it would take it to get here. So who knows? It may be 6 weeks, but I'm getting one in the relatively near future. So I'm joining the VR club, sort of. I mean, I've heard good things about the Gear VR, but it's not like it's plugged into a really powerful PC or anything, so it is a bit limited compared to other units, but still, I mean, mostly what I would probably use it for is hey, check out this neat experience for 2 minutes, and then, okay, I'm going to go sit in my giant movie theater and watch, I don't know, Star Wars Rogue One for the 50th time.
Okay, so how's this different from normal VR?
I can take it with me on the road when I go see clients.
Oh.
Or on planes, or on boats, or to rooftop parties, and everyone else playing with their Switches can do that, and I can go sit in the corner and cry. And no one can see my tears.
Have your millennial Switch party on the rooftop?
Yeah. I think I probably won't do this, but I would like to be funny or dumb, and once we move into our new house,
worry, you
climb on top
are.
of the roof. Climb on top of the roof and take some pictures and have a dance party or something. But
okay,
I do that after we replace the roof.
We're definitely going to have a backup co-host for when you slip and fall
and kill
off the
myself.
roof.
That will happen. I'm super clumsy. This is sounding more and more like a bad idea the longer I think about it.
No. I'm going to completely redeem this idea with one suggestion.
Okay.
At the bottom of the roof, make sure you set up a camera.
So we record it.
Yes.
Yeah, that works.
Look at it this way. All the YouTube hits, you're going to pay for your medical bills.
I have health insurance. I would just say that I was working on my roof. And I fell off.
And you just posted to why were they recording? What's that?
I'm a millennial. We record everything. Oh, there's my chair arm. I accidentally clicked it and dropped it down a notch. I guess that's really the only thing that happened that's gaming related. And with me talking about the next few weeks at the end, there's really not much more to add here. I could tell you about the clinic being shut down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the Lee clinic, not my new clinic.
I was about to say, didn't you just get that job?
It's temporarily shut down. There was a family who came in, and they all had lice.
Lovely.
And they didn't tell anybody until after session. And they had kids, so they were like in all the toys and everything. And it's like, well,
that's when you just burn the place to the ground and start over.
Yeah, I was not there when that happened, so
Nuke the entire place from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah. But I received several text messages from people there this week, like, ew, gross. Better check your hair for lice. It's like, I haven't been there in days. They closed Friday for Good Friday, so I haven't actually been there since then. So, I'm safe.
As far as we know.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what your definition of safe is, too. I mean, I'm
safe
from
it depends
head
on
lice.
just how much you're going to be dancing around on your roof.
True.
With
Very
the Gear
true.
VR. I mean, that's the probably the bad idea is, hey, let me put a VR headset on while I'm dancing on an uneven roof.
Wow, this flying game is so realistic. It feels like I'm actually flying. Thump. That's because you fell off the roof. But
well, look at it this way. When the phone explodes in the VR device and blows your head clean off, falling off the roof is the least of your problems.
I've got a really hard head. It probably wouldn't come clean off, but it would hurt.
No, you'll just have a Spider-Man. You'll download the Spider-Man experience. The phone will explode in your face, and it'll be like the old Spider-Man movies.
Fun times. All right. Well, there was a game that had Spider-Man in it once or a bunch of times. So
yeah, some of them were actually decent. None of them on PC, but still,
some of them were. But using that as an awful, awful contrived segue. Rach, what games have you been playing this week?
I played a couple of them.
All right.
Oh, you want to go in specifics? Well, sorry, none of them about Spider-Man.
I mean, if we're going to make our runtime, yeah, we should probably go into specifics about the games.
Oh, if you insist. How about a crappy light version of XCOM?
Okay.
Shock Tactics. This
Sounds
was
fun.
a failed Sunday sampler. Just it was more. I was just not feeling up to recording than anything else. That and it was doing some interesting things to my hardware.
Okay.
Let's talk about the hardware first, just, before we dive into the game itself. I was doing my usual playtest on this, and I had my headset on, and I heard a noise. What the hell is that? Take my headset off, and I hear this. This was making my video card run at 100% nonstop.
Dang. It's not that intense. It's a turn-based tactical RPG.
Yeah, it was one of those that it was making my video card just the fans go full tilt to the point that I heard it through my headset, which is actually quite impressive. But yeah, and I decided to fire up MSI Afterburner and found out, yeah, it was running my video card full tilt, pretty much nonstop, even with VSync on and locking it to 60 FPS. So that tells you how optimized this thing is. But Shock Tactics. Here's the thing, is that it's not a terrible game. It's not a good game, and it's terribly, terribly, terribly optimized. But it's one of those that if they fixed a couple of little things, it would actually be decent. Primarily how the camera handles. And I know. Turn-based game doesn't matter that much. Actually, it does. Because they have the camera swing around so damn much that it's hard to keep track of what exactly the hell is going on. And because there's a lot of things on timers, a mission, you'll start up a mission and you'll have reinforcements coming in a couple turns. Well, when the cutscene plays for the reinforcements landing, because the camera's moved around so much, you can't even tell where the ship was that they just landed in. Which makes it a little bit more frustrating than it really should have been, you know?
Yes.
It's just one of the things. And also, the fact that, I'm not sure if it's just the angle or just the fact that none of the scenery tries to fade out like XCOM does, but it feels very cluttered, the environment does. To the point where it's tough to... this is probably the entire thing, is that it's tough to tell what's going on, even though they actually give you a lot more info than XCOM does. Which is not a great thing, huh?
No, it's not. That seems
it's
oxymoronic.
It's actually quite impressive that they give you so much info and tell you so little, or confuse you so much just because of the camera. For example, one thing that I absolutely love, it uses I believe it's XCOM 2 that uses this. I know a couple of games does this, where it's kind of a hybrid action point system where you can move as much as you want, but as soon as you fire, it turns over for that character. I think XCOM 2 does that. I may be mistaken on that. I haven't actually played XCOM 2. I just did a little bit of searching and digging, and it seems like it's a similar system to what XCOM 2 has. And that is an interesting way to do it, because whenever you're moving around, and if you have a new character come into sight that you didn't see an enemy come into sight, it'll actually stop your movement and allow you to adjust your tactics, which I liked, because that's one problem that I've always had with XCOM, is that they have this weird thing with XCOM where they try to rush you, but at the same time they punish you if you rush. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where the limited time resources on the first XCOM with the expansion, you have to rush to get those, but if you rush too much to get them, you're suddenly jumped by the enemies that you didn't see.
Yep, you trigger all the enemy spawns, and then you're screwed.
Yeah, and you're either save scumming, or if you're Iron Man mode, you're starting a new game.
Yeah. The ultimate save scum.
So that is one thing that I do like, and the fact that they do show you all the line of sights from every point, so you don't run into the XCOM problem of, okay, this guy's here, why can't he shoot that guy? Well, this shows you, okay, if you move the guy here, you have line of sight on these guys. If you move them here, you have line of sight on these guys. And they have a distance meter for each gun where they show approximately just how much of a chance you'll have to hit before you move.
That's handy.
Yeah, Wasteland 2 has it as well, which I'll be talking about in just a little bit. There's a teaser for you, where it'll give you an idea of your approximate chance to hit. I mean, granted, this is before they factor in cover and other factors as well. But then they have it where, okay, the guns, they don't tell you exactly what they do, so you have to learn them as you go. And this is very important for hit chance, because what they do with this is that the hit chance isn't per attack. It's per bullet. So if you have a gun that has a burst fire that shoots 3 or 4 times, shooting at someone that has a 25-30% hit chance suddenly gets a lot more attractive. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
But the problem is that the guns don't say, okay, this has a burst fire mode, or this doesn't have a burst fire mode. It's one of those that you have to sit down and learn.
Right.
And all the guns look very similar. Okay, you were saying?
I was going to say that in some ways sounds great, and in some ways it sounds frustrating.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, definitely, because it's one of those things where, okay, you're being fired on, you have a 10% chance to be hit. Oh, and he has a gun that shoots 5 times.
Yeah.
And granted, I realize that, okay, just because he's shooting 5 times doesn't mean that he suddenly has a 50% chance to hit. But we're also talking that false positive, where you're, where the fact that, okay, you got hit when you had a 10% chance of getting hit. or your guy missed when he had a 95% chance to get hit. You remember that a lot more than all the other times where, they shot at you when they had a 15, 20% chance to hit you and they missed. So it is that sort of thing as well. So it's kind of a mixture. It's I like that. It makes it so that certain guns are more attractive for different applications, but at the same time, they don't tell you which guns do what.
Yeah.
And they expect you to sit down and learn it all.
The more I think about it, I think the more I like that idea, but you do need to have information to tell you how many shots your weapon fires and all that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how the game gives you a lot of information, but at the same time it doesn't. Because I love the fact that they have the line of sight indicators, because that is something that's desperately needed. But then they don't tell you, or at least, let's put it this way. I didn't see it on the guns. Now, it could have been buried somewhere. I could have just overlooked it. But it's not apparent. And also, everything is essentially a timed mission on this, similar to how XCOM 2 does it, where the world map, it's a turn-based, almost overworld strategy as well, where you're taking your ATV around to different sites and running missions. And every movement of the hex is a day, and you only have so many days, so you have to kind of prioritize what missions you want to do. Some missions generate resources continuously, so you want to do those earlier so you get a better result. Some of them don't, but they give you more recruits. And also the recruits, you don't have a way to hire like in XCOM, just straight out. Or I should say that I haven't, like I've said, I haven't played XCOM 2, so I may be off base on how XCOM 2 handles their recruitment system. But in XCOM 1, you basically had as many raw recruits as you could afford. But in this, you only have a handful. And you have to essentially rescue your extra recruits. And if you don't, well, you could end up with a resource problem there as well.
Yeah, I'm looking for a game, and I might not be able to find it fast enough, and that's fine. But it's a sci-fi game that does this. Like, you're on Mars, and you have missions and things that you have to do, and you have a vehicle that you can send out to do them. That sounds very, very similar. It even has a turn-based battle system as well. Although it's not grid-based like the XCOM series.
Yeah, this is very XCOM-like in a lot of ways, but at the same time, they give you a lot less information in the places that matter, and a lot more in places that, yes, it matters, but not nearly as much as other places. It's just really weird, and the camera just is a real deal-breaker for me, which it just seems so weird to say, the camera's a deal-breaker in a turn-based strategy, and so you have as much time as you want during the turns. But there you go.
Yeah. I mean, if it sucks, it sucks, you know?
Yeah. And that's even before you start getting to where it was making my RX 480 run 100% full time. I mean, that's just... what the hell is it calculating on the back end of things?
Many things.
I mean, was it trying to find the next digit of pi?
Many things. We can't tell you, though.
Oh, sorry. They're just mining bitcoins.
Here it is. The game I was talking about. UFO Afterlight. It's a game that came out several years ago. But it's got the same sort of system. You have things like missions that you can do that will give you constant stream of resources, and then other missions that, I mean, you either have to do to survive, or they give you big rewards, but nothing and there's like also over the long term.
Yeah, and there's also story-based missions that you have a certain amount of time to do, and also, whenever someone gets injured, it's very XCOM-like, where it takes so many days for them to recover. And the thing is, if you haven't been doing the side objectives where you'll have the other guys in reserve, or you're either bringing guys in that are severely injured to begin with, and maybe losing them because they have half health, or you're just trying to go in with a smaller squad. And it's also very easy to lose track of who's who, because everyone's wearing essentially spacesuits. And sure, you can recolor them, and there's some changing of patterns and stuff, but it's very similar. It's not like an XCOM where the different classes have a different style of armor. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And also the fact that, okay, the classes, they each get 3 abilities total. And then you have a training center where you can teach them 3 more outside of battle, but those are a common pool. So it comes down to the classes don't matter as much to begin with. The only thing the classes do is give you stat bonuses and those couple of abilities, which honestly, most of them didn't look all that earth-shattering.
Yeah, the aesthetics for this are not super great.
Yeah, but for some reason it runs a RX 480 at full tilt nonstop. And I did confirm
they're
that
doing things.
And I did confirm that in MSI Afterburner, by the way. And it wasn't my CPU offloading offloading the workload, because my CPU was actually kind of bored on this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said you could hear it through your headphones, your 480's fan.
Yeah. Yeah, which usually the 480, if the fan is going, is, 20-30%. Whenever I shut down the game, and by the time I got the monitoring program up and running, it was showing the fan running at 65-70%, which is just outside of just running a system check every so often to make sure, hey, are the fans still there? Yeah, they're still there. I've never had the fans run that high. Quite impressive for a game that doesn't look it, huh?
Indeed.
So, shall we move along to another game, or do you want to talk about crappy XCOM some more? Or do you have any questions about it?
No. I'm actually thinking about reinstalling UFO Afterlight. I haven't played it in several years. There's already been any updates to it, but I have a much better PC, so...
Yeah. Well, the other game that I've spent some time with, well, one of the other games I've spent some other times with, because I have 3 games this week, is I spent a couple evenings with Wasteland 2. This is a RPG, a very, very deep RPG, almost Divinity Original Sin-like, where it's a CRPG where there's a lot of choices, there's a lot of stuff that you can miss if you don't know it's there, which I kind of like. It's one of those things that, well, Yahtzee had a article this week talking about how RPGs just aren't RPGs anymore. They're, almost a movie-esque, where they expect the player to do everything at once. And this is definitely not that type of game. So, for those who don't know, Wasteland is a sci-fi game set in, I believe it's Arizona after the apocalypse. Granted, I haven't played too much of the game yet. I'm only a few hours in, which is, not even getting to the opening city, or I guess I should say the opening up the base, because it had that thing where, okay, you just joined our group, but we're not letting you into the base yet. We're going to have you test yourself. We're going to put you through this test, and we're not going to equip you properly. But I love that you could call them out on it as well.
Nice. Wasteland 2 has been... I haven't played it. It's actually on my wish list as one of the only CRPGs that looks like it interests me. I just have never gotten around to playing it.
Well, it has a lot of similarities to Divinity in the way it handles things. There's a lot of things that you can miss if you don't know about them, or that if you don't have the proper skills. There's a certain sense of humor to it as well, that it definitely takes itself seriously, but at the same time, there's some of the stuff almost Fallout-esque almost. Or at least it seems that way. For example, in the opening area, there's a guy that is trying to scrub graffiti off of a wall. Well, that's a hidden thing where if you have this certain skill and go to this certain little cave, you can get him a can of spray paint. And it's very easy to miss, and you have to have essentially a skilled or a stat in order to just get that. But if you do, then it unlocks the ability to get this book to improve your brawling skill. And that's the thing, is that this game opens up a lot of different possibilities to how you play. My group, you actually play 4 characters in this, opposed to Divinity where you're playing 2. Well, you're playing 4 in Divinity as well, but you're able to create all 4 in this. And then you have additional members that join the squad at certain points. So think of it as almost Divinity-like, where you have the 4-person party, but then you have extras. I'm not explaining this very well, am I?
No, I'm tracking. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to buy this or wait for a sale. Probably wait for a sale.
Well, especially since you're... hopefully we're still playing Divinity.
Yeah.
Yeah. The main difference between the two is really... There's almost some XCOM-like elements into it as well, where it has the hit percentages with all the guns. You have to deal with ammo, which in the beginning of the game is a severe resource hog. You have to make sure all your guys are outfitted, but it seems like as it goes along, unless you start swapping out types of guns, it's not going to be that big a deal, as long as you're just careful with it. And there's here, I'm going to sell it to you. There's a lot of subcrafting and breaking down weapons for gun improvements. And I know how you love your crafting.
I love crafting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you've spent many of hours in Divinity just putting random shit together.
Yep. And I will spend many more.
Yeah, and some of it hasn't even made it to the series.
Some of it, yes, a little bit.
But yeah, it has a very, very deep weapon improvement system where you'll break down different weapons and get parts that you can put together into other weapon improvements. Like I said, I'm barely scratching the surface of this game still.
Doesn't Total Biscuit have a character in it?
Yeah, he does. He actually had a giveaway at one point where you had to kill his character, and it's very deep in the game. It's one of those things that after playing it for a bit, it's like, oh wait, I remember something. Oh yeah, Total Biscuit. But it's... I kind of want to go back and play the first one, and I have the first one on Steam, but it's one of those games that it's getting to the point where it's tough to go back. It's from 1988.
Yeah, the original is pretty old. Did they remaster it?
Oh, it's on Steam. I'm not sure if it's remastered or not, but Wasteland, actually, I think if you get a certain edition of it, you do get, or with Wasteland 2, you do get the original.
Oh no, that's not remastered, no.
Probably just...
I think it's the digital deluxe edition.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just... Phew. There's a lot to it, and it's going to be my ongoing project, especially after getting through Life is Strange for this coming week for the Game Club next week.
Yeah.
And setting up for what we're planning on for next month. Teaser!
Yeah.
But this is a game that, it's one of those that if modern RPGs are too shallow for you and you don't like sci-fi, or sorry, if you don't like fantasy and like sci-fi, and it's really comes down to, okay, do you want Divinity or do you want Wasteland for your CRPGs these days? And then
yeah, I guess
you want
it would
more
be
action RPG, you would go more, depending on the camera style, you could go Witcher or you could go for Diablo or Path of Exile. But Diablo and Path of Exile start to get down to the lootathons.
Right.
RPG has kind of really dumped itself down these past few years, hasn't it?
Well, it's become one of those sort of catch-alls, like, is there any amount of leveling or storytelling or decision-making? Yeah, RPG. RPG elements.
Yeah, or they'll take out some RPG elements to make it more of a shooter, like, let's pick a game almost at random. Oh, how about Mass Effect?
Yeah, but Mass Effect got better when it did that, so...
to a degree, but at the same time, I think they pushed it a little too far, where it became more of a shooter with RPG elements than an RPG.
Mass Effect 2 is definitely the best example of the sort of link between worlds or whatever. Like, they ripped out all of the crappy stuff from Mass Effect 1 that everyone hated, but they didn't take out so much stuff that it was dumbed down, which is what happened in Mass Effect 3.
Well, also they tried to sell an important character as pre-order DLC and pissed off a fair amount of people.
Yeah.
Trying to think of anything else I really want to talk about on Wasteland 2. Like, barely scratching the surface on this game. And I've already restarted the game twice, just trying out different characters and different builds, because it's one of those games where you have all the characters. You want to almost fall into the archetype of, okay, this guy's the healer, this guy's gonna be one of my primary damage dealers, but then you fall into the problem, okay, my healer just died and I didn't give healer abilities to anyone else. And he's saying they're bleeding out. Fuck.
Gotta carry around one of them there Phoenix Downs, buddy.
Didn't work for Eris.
Yes, but the story dictated she must die. So, video game logic.
Ding.
Alright.
Yeah, but if getting a sword jam through you makes a Phoenix Down doesn't work, well, there's a lot of those fights in Final Fantasy VII that I would have been screwed.
Indeed.
But then again, we also start falling back on, well, why didn't the fuck did she go absolutely batshit whenever I got her killed before? Oh, wait, I didn't have put the MacGuffin on her corpse. Valkyria Chronicles, everyone. Valkyria Chronicles.
Yep. The MacGuffin. Love me some MacGuffin. Alright, what else did you play this week?
Okay, wrapping up. I picked up Endless Space when it went for $1. I'll buy that for $1.
I was about to say, I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, now I didn't put a lot of time into it because, well, I wanted to try Wasteland 2 instead, and I thought, I'll at least give it a look, see how it is, and the tutorial sucks.
Yeah, Endless Space is really frustrating for a while, and then you figure it out, and you're like, okay, this is actually a really competent 4X space strategy game. But,
I mean, I could definitely see it, but the thing is that they tell you just enough to confuse you.
Yeah.
That they set up the tutorial terribly, where, okay, well, here, let's have an info dump every time you open up a window, and you forget all of it in 5 minutes.
Yep, the worst way to do a tutorial. Just here's everything that this screen does. It's like, but I'm not using any of this right now, so
yeah, this is important to me in 12 hours when I'm actually looking for that button.
Yeah.
But that's probably the frustrating part about tutorials like that, is that it shows you what the game could be, but you're on turn 2. So you don't need that yet.
Yeah.
And for as much as it made the demo kind of suck for Civ 6, at least the demo for Civ 6, going through that tutorial, if you didn't know how to play Civ, it would teach you.
Yeah.
Granted, it gives you no time to learn some of the deeper mechanics because, 60 turns for the full game or the tutorial, which is very limited, but that's, a different kettle fish or I guess I should say a different civilization, a different Nuke for Gandhi.
But
But I didn't get to play too much of this. Like I said, I had my focus on Wasteland 2 and then Life is Strange. So it's more just picking up and it's like, oh, this is really confusing and the tutorial kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe if it hadn't been, nearly 20 years since I played Masters of Orion, then I would be able to pick this up a lot quicker.
Yeah, I'll say for me, it's been a while since I've played it, but I have played 2 or 3 full games all the way through. Some of the things that it does really well is not overwhelming you when you're actually playing the game.
No, it's just when they're given the tutorial.
Yeah, no, the tutorial is terrible. But it does sort of the whole big picture thing. Like, hey, you're the emperor of your civilization. You don't need to build every single building on every single planet in your empire. Just order your people around and set up planets to do like things, and we'll handle all the difficult stuff. And so that's nice unless you're someone who likes to play, take 100 hours to do a single turn once your empire gets big. The combat,
Space Gandhi's looking for the nuke button.
The combat's pretty straightforward and a little weird, but I kind of like it.
I didn't get to the combat yet because I was too frustrated with the tutorial.
So combat is, you don't have very much of a hand in combat. It mostly goes by, it happens in 3 phases. Your ships start at like long range, and then they close to medium range, and then they close to short range. And you can use abilities based on like whatever generals or whoever you have.
Yeah, they had some sort of hero units, and they didn't explain it all that well.
Yeah, you can use abilities for combat. For example, like different admirals will have different abilities that you can use to help you out during combat. And each phase you can choose sort of like I guess the best way to say it is a stance. And your ships will, for example, if your ships have really crappy long-range weapons, then for the long-range phase, instead of being offensive, you should choose to be defensive, because you're not going to do very much damage, and you want to avoid taking as much damage as possible, like that sort of thing. So general, and most of it comes down to how well your ships have been designed beforehand. It's got a pretty robust ship designing system, so that's always nice.
I only got to play around a little bit with it because I only got, I think, 5 turns in, 6 turns, and it's like, okay, I want to go check out Wasteland 2 now, because I don't want to spend the evening to watch tutorials on this.
The tech tree is insane. It is huge.
It's more of a web, really, where you're starting in the middle and branching out in different directions depending on your focus. That is kind of neat.
Yeah, that's a really neat idea. Although, if you make the wrong choices, like if you get neighbored up to someone who's really warlike and you don't focus on military technologies, it's impossible to come back, because you have to invest so many points the other direction. Because since the tree builds on each other, the more resources you invest in one area, the more difficult it becomes to shift those resources to other areas as you're going along. So, I mean, it's got pros and cons. It's a neat system, but it can screw you over. That actually happened to me the first time I played, because I tend to focus more on economy and
mining.
Yeah, mining, things like that. And I was right next to the most warlike race in my game, and they very quickly cut me off from the rest of space. And it's like, well, I have no fleets really to do anything. I'm screwed.
Yeah, time to go for the religion victory.
Indeed.
Send them spaceships full of your blue jeans and pop music.
Yes.
Culture victory.
They blew them all up. But it's a fun game. Honestly, though, of the Endless games, Endless Legends is better than Endless Space. But I mean, Endless Legends is very much like, okay, we learned our lesson from Endless Space about the things that we did wrong, and let's fix them in this game. And Endless Legend is a completely different, like, it's a fantasy setting, and it's got a more traditional sort of tactical hex-based battle, or hex-based maps.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets a lot more into that traditional tactical combat. But I mean, I think it's a fun game overall, but you really have to like 4X strategy games to get past its nuances and really enjoy the game. It is complicated. But I mean, for $1, which is what it was on sale for.
Yeah, it was definitely worth picking up. And it's basically just trying to get people to play it to be able to sell them Endless Space 2 and later, because it's in development. I think it's due to come out before too long, actually. But
that would be nice.
I'm just looking at the recent reviews, and there's a lot of people that bought it for $1, and it's like, I have no idea what this game is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, as I at least knew what I was getting into, and I've played Masters of Orion before, so I have some experience with the genre. It's been a while, and getting past a new UI is always difficult, especially if it's been a couple decades since you played something of that genre.
Yeah. Endless Space 2 looks good, and I'm going to put it on the wish list. I didn't even know it was coming out. Looks like it's supposed to... Oh no, it's in early access now.
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to buy it right now.
Though you're at least going to wait till you move to Camelot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is it my turn then?
Well, it's kind of been your turn for a while because you have experience with Endless Space, and me was more, this tutorial kind of sucks.
Yeah, I guess I did take over Endless Space.
Not that I can blame you because, like I said, I didn't have a lot of experience with it outside of, I'm kind of confused, and this looks kind of neat, but yeah, they need to figure out how to do the tutorial better.
Yeah.
And okay. I did look on YouTube, and the basic tutorials in like 2 hours, which isn't a turnoff to me because I have played Dwarf Fortress, and the tutorial for that is like a series that's something like 16 or 17 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a few of those in my time for various games.
It's just I had other things to do.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Well, I played 2 games this week. One of them is the Elder Scrolls Online, Tamriel Unlimited. They had a free... I think it was a free week. It was like 5 or 6 days that you could play it for free. Yeah. And then if you bought it, it was, I think, 66% off. It was like $5 or $6. And so I played it, and I enjoyed it, and I bought it. But this definitely should be a free-to-play game. I mean, it's got the entire, like, free-to-play everything in it, like the store. Like, I mean, you played WildStar. I think they just took WildStar's store and copied it and then changed the aesthetic to be Elder Scrolls lore-friendly.
Are you talking about the game itself or just the store? Because that's one thing I've heard complained about is that this is essentially a bog standard MMO with Elder Scrolls put over it. No,
just the store. And I don't think that that's true.
Or to be fair, this was at least near launch when I've heard people talk about this, so maybe they've improved it since then. But then again, I really didn't like Skyrim, so I haven't liked the direction that they've been taking the Elder Scrolls series in general.
I think you would like this better than Skyrim. It feels to me very much like Oblivion. A low bar. It feels to me very much like Oblivion. Not quite as good as Oblivion. And it's hard to compare it to Morrowind just because of the severe difference in age. But
and just general style as well, because Morrowind, it's a very unique game. From setting to just how they did mechanics.
Yeah. But so Elder Scrolls Online is a lot of fun. Like I said, it reminds me very much of Oblivion in its sort of art style and feel and the way that the interface is laid out for the most part. The menus are completely different. The menus are definitely MMO menus, which honestly works way better than anything that they've put together because it's obviously designed around a PC interface instead of a controller interface.
Well, to be fair, a lot of the UI since Oblivion has sucked.
Yeah, so the UI is great.
So again, a quick question. Did they really capture the feel of Oblivion? Had Patrick Stewart, Sean Bean, and about 3 other people voice all the NPCs?
No, actually, there are many different NPC voice actors. So I guess obviously it's not like an Elder Scrolls game at all.
Obviously not an Elder Scrolls game. I see where the people are coming from now.
Yeah, there are a lot of different voice actors so far. I mean, there could be repeats later on in the game. I've only played for about 4 or 5 hours.
Now, does anyone
is,
radically change their voice style? Talking like a beggar, then all of a sudden, hey, I'm a noble person instead, while they're still a beggar.
Nope. I haven't run
Definitely
anything
not
like
Elder
that.
Scrolls.
I haven't run anything like that yet, no. So, yeah, very reminiscent of Oblivion in the way that the UI looks, except for the menus, which, I mean, are MMO menus, but they work great compared to what we've been used to for the last few Elder Scrolls games, because they're actually designed for keyboard and mouse. So they flow well and they look nice. Some of the systems, and I think that this is because of the MMO, but or the MMO aspects, but there's a lot less in terms of like when you build a character, there's a lot less that you can, like you can't do everything basically. Like if you're going to be a mage,
sort of like what I was
focus.
talking about with Wasteland, really.
Yeah. If you're going to be a mage, you should really focus on your magic and building up your magic skill trees instead of building up, your melee combat skill trees or whatever. And there's a tiny bit of crossover. Like I use a staff. I've got a fire staff right now, and it has some crossover skills with two-handed weapons. So, I mean, I just kind of discovered that by accident. I grabbed a two-handed.
So just wondered, do you have an intern as well?
Yes. But I started the game. I grabbed a two-handed sword because I like two-handed weapons as opposed to sword and shield in general. And then once I found a staff, I switched over, and then it opened up the staff skill tree. I was like, oh, there's some overlap between two-handed weapons and staffs, so I didn't really lose anything there from the first few levels. But I don't really know how good the story is or anything yet, because it's an MMO, so 5 hours is like nothing.
5 hours is basically what I played in Wasteland, to be honest. Getting maybe to the second opening area.
Yeah, I got past the sort of intro area and got to the actual open world portion. And the first map that I've gotten is gigantic. It's probably half the size of Skyrim's map, and this is just the first area. So I think that's a good thing as long as there's stuff out there to do. I mean, that was one of the big complaints when the game launched, but I haven't kept up with it over the years, so I don't really know what else out there. But I mean, I picked up several quests in the first area that are definitely Elder Scrolls quests and not MMO quests. I don't have a single go collect 10 bear asses, so that's nice. A whole bunch
the fact that they lock you out of things, if so you can't be the arch wizard that also happens to be the leader of both the fighters and thieves guild. That's definitely not an Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah, but I've kind of changed in the last year or two where I don't really care about that stuff. I mean, I've played Fallout.
I know. It's just kind of it's silly whenever you think about it, though, especially lore-wise. And when they try to boost up the lore of an Elder Scrolls game, and then you start really sitting down and thinking about it. And Morrowind had the same problem with it. Well, for the most part, I mean, there was things that Morrowind you would be locked out of if you did. You had a choice of the vampire houses. If you went into one, you were locked out of all the others.
Yeah.
Permanently.
I don't know if there's too many things like that in this. I mean, there are definitely some paths that it's already like hinting at, like, hey, there's these 3 great houses, and you're going to have to pick one of them that you're going to have to join to fight for Tamriel. And it doesn't force you to at the very beginning, but...
Okay, and I just joined a couple, not too bad houses. I don't know why I'm so punny today.
I don't know. I wish I had a pun to follow that, but I don't. But I mean, I so far I'm really enjoying my time with it. I like the way that they handle the combat system. It's a pretty big improvement, I think, over Skyrim, honestly, because it dials back some of the stupidity of Skyrim, and it's like, hey, actually, you should make a choice between doing this or that, and if you're going to do this, then you're going to be really bad at that. And it's got some amount of lock-on, which I think is just supposed to help because it's an MMO and, for lag and things like that, but it actually makes all of the combat a lot more responsive because it just doesn't feel floaty, if that makes sense. Like in Skyrim...
Well, I was going to say, WoW combat... You're essentially just sitting there flailing.
Yeah, And this isn't that though. I mean, you can move around and dodge, and it's very, very active.
So, closer to Guild Wars combat than WoW combat.
Yeah, definitely.
Or I would say even WildStar combat, because that has it as well.
Way more than WildStar.
Well, I would say, I was saying similar to it, where you have a lot of dodging around and trying to avoid big attacks.
Yeah, I mean, dodging and positioning is very important, but, it's not floating and all over the place like it is in Skyrim. I mean, even with a mouse, aiming things sometimes in Skyrim is difficult, but it's not in Elder Scrolls Online. And again, that could be part of like aim assist or lock on just to help deal with the MMO aspects, but I like it. It makes combat feel a lot more responsive and a lot more tactical, because you do have the free-flowing dodge elements and blocking and things like that, but also like whenever you attack someone, it's like, okay, I definitely hit him that time. I'm not like swinging wildly like a crazy person. I got him.
So definitely not WoW combat.
And it removes some of the stupid things that I hated in Skyrim, like wands only have stabs only have so much magic charge, and then you have to recharge them. But if you're a magic user, you just use your magicka to use your wand, and it uses like your staff, and it uses like a very teeny tiny amount of magicka. And if you have put some extra points into it and built a mage type character, like, you really won't even notice. But that means that your staff is never going to run out in combat.
Well, that's more of just this Elder Scrolls mechanic in general, how enchanting's always worked. Enchanting has always worked as your enchanted items, your rings, and, staves in Skyrim, which, and I'm pretty sure it's in Oblivion and further back as well. Matter of fact, I know it is in Oblivion. I can't recall Morrowind because I didn't play a mage in Morrowind, because that was an exercise in pain with how they did the magic system in Morrowind.
Yeah.
It was always used as an additional item, as a sort of, okay, you have your spells and this, instead of using it as your focus item, of what you're channeling through.
Yeah.
Think of it as your magic is your gun. If we want to go into a more like sci-fi almost, and all your enchanted items were your extra tools, your grenades, your bed packs, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's how I always treat the magic system in the Elder Scrolls series. Granted, I rarely played a magic-heavy character, so it didn't affect me too much, but I can see where it makes more sense, where, especially for an MMO, where the staff isn't an extra bonus item, an extra bonus spell or ability for, when you need that extra oomph or just need to finish something off in your, to deplete your magicka. But it's your weapon, it's what you're channeling through instead of just that extra oomph.
Yeah. Also, I like whenever you do a power attack with a staff, you channel magic through it. So normally, like, the staff just shoots little fireballs, but whenever I do a power attack, it shoots like a constant stream of fire, I like that. It's a nice little touch.
And then if you have the staff of Samsung, it blows up.
But that's the mod that replaces fireballs with Samsung Galaxy Note 7s.
And then Samsung sues the mod creator.
Yeah. But it also has, this is just standard MMO stuff, but with hotbars. But that makes combat so much better when you're a magic user. Because in every other in the other modern Elder Scrolls games, you have to switch back and forth between what spells you want to use. But now you just assign them to, the number keys, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So
yeah, you would have your your hot bar essentially in Morrowind and Skyrim and Oblivion, but it was always very limited.
Yeah. So so far, like I said, I'm liking it. There are a few things I don't like. On the technical side, I'm guessing it's just like an issue with either my drivers for the 480, or it just doesn't play well with AMD. But all of the additional grass textures, like, that you can turn on, flicker. So I've had to turn those off, which is not that big of a deal. It's just like extra stuff. All of the normal stuff is fine, but the extra stuff flickers, and I don't understand why.
Z fighting, perhaps?
What?
Z finding, meaning that a texture is trying to go over another texture.
Yeah.
That's what a Z finding is called. Whenever you see some, this is very particular on larger surfaces where you'll see like it's two textures trying to fight. Especially the thing that I can think of first of all is like a blood splatter on a wall. If you see a blood splatter on a wall and you see it flicker where the wall it'll disappear and reappear really quickly, that's called Z finding. It's basically the two textures are occupying essentially the same spot, and depending on how you move, the two try to fight one another for that Z coordinate.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what it's doing.
So it's Z fighting on the grass textures.
Yep. But I mean, I've just turned it off. If it is a driver issue, I mean, I'll check and update my drivers. If they're not up to date, I'll try it again. If it's, just some sort of incompatibility or something, I'll just leave it turned off. And in general, though, the options menu is pretty weak for this game. There's not a lot of stuff you can do. Not much that you can customize. You just mostly have to go with the presets, and then you've got a few options like high dynamic range and bloom and motion blur and stuff like that you can turn on or off. But that's about it. Although it does have good field of view. The default's 100, and it goes up to 140, 130. I checked it, but I don't remember exactly how high it goes. It's either 130 or 140, so that's nice. And I hate the inventory system, or not the inventory system, but the way that it does like your encumbrance. In every other single Bethesda game that has encumbrance, it's just you can carry this many units, pounds or whatever.
And if you carry a feather more, I can't move.
Yep. But, these items weigh this much. But it doesn't work that way. You start with 60 slots, and different items take up different amounts of slots. But the items...
Diablo-esque almost puzzle thing where you have so much you can fit on it?
No, it's just a number. There's not a puzzle grid you have to fit. It's just a number. And, like a sword will take up 4 slots. Or 4 things. And that would be okay. But things don't always match how many slots they say they take up. Like, a potion says it takes up 1 slot, but it doesn't. It'll just take up,
that
0.
Stack.
It'll take up a 0. And, you can stack several before it and then it jumps up to, 3. It's like, wait, you were at 0 just a second ago. Why does adding 1 more potion to this stack bump it up to 3? And my guess is either some kind of rounding error, or there's something in the options menu that you can do to change it, and I just haven't found it yet. But it's annoying. Because it's like, oh, I've got 15 slots left, and I pick up, I don't know, I open a chest, and I take out a couple items, and it's like, oh, you're over encumbered. It's like, why does a ring and an apple take up 15 slots, or pounds, or whatever? It's dumb. I don't like it. And then
that's one big apple.
Heyo. I haven't had a chance to check out the crafting system yet. I don't know if you have to go to crafting stations or if it's a skill that you learn or what. But I mean, I'm picking up crafting items everywhere and just storing them in my bag and hoping I don't get overweight. But so far, I can't use it. But I mean, I would not pay $30 for this game, which is, I think it's retail price.
Keep chattering away, I'll check.
Yeah, I would not pay whatever the full price is for this game, because it's very clearly a free-to-play system, and they're just currently charging people for it, I guess for as long as they can get away with it.
Gold edition, $60.
I bought the normal one. I think it's just called Tamriel Unlimited.
Oh, all right. Well, I just went to the gold edition because that has all the DLC and extra packs in it and everything.
Yeah.
Actually, it shows that you want that, so I doubt you bought that one. Let's see where it looks like they have a subscription plan as well through Steam.
Yeah. It's like your standard MMO, $15 a month.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, as long as you're subscribed.
Yeah, it's $30 for Tamriel Unlimited.
Yeah. I mean, the game's not worth $30 because it's so clearly based on free-to-play mechanics. I suppose if you're going to subscribe monthly, then that would be okay. Because if you're a monthly subscriber, I mean, you still get everything, and you get a bunch of currency to spend in the store and things like that.
You could also just buy the currency outright.
You can, absolutely, you can.
Yeah. 750 crowns for $8.
Yeah, I got 500 crowns when I bought it on sale, and that's like $5 or $6, and that's what I paid for it. So, I mean, I think it's worth that, but if it ever goes free to play, I mean, just play it for free. There's no reason to spend any money on it right now.
I think I'd rather just play WildStar at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan. There's a lot of lore in the game, obviously. It's set in the past, so if you are like me and you read the books, you recognize some of the characters and the things that people are talking about. It's like, oh, I read the book in Skyrim or Oblivion about this. But, I mean, if you're not a big Elder Scrolls fan, unless the game goes free to play, it's probably nothing here for you. But
yeah, that's the thing, is that I enjoyed Morrowind. Oblivion was all right. I think they blew way too much of their budget getting Sean Bean and Patrick Stewart because, well, they had Patrick Stewart in the game for, 5 minutes?
Yeah, he's only in the beginning, and I think he does some narration that shows up at the end as well, but that's only...
I don't remember that. I remember Sean Bean being the narrator for the end.
I think Patrick Stewart gets like one more bit beyond just the very beginning.
Maybe. It felt like they used up so much of their budget that, everything else felt kind of lackluster.
Yeah.
It just feels like the Elder Scrolls series, that they need to do something with it because it's... well, that's the thing. To me, it's felt like it's gone downhill. But then again, I'm not the typical gamer on this because obviously Skyrim sells just so many copies at every single Steam sale.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this at length.
Yeah.
On the Skyrim Game Club episode, so I don't know if I want to keep talking about it and just point people back there because we're running dangerously close to entering into the same discussion we've had a couple of times about the Elder Scrolls universe. I think that you would like Elder Scrolls Online Rage, but I don't think that you would like it enough to pay for it. I mean, if it ever goes free to play, check it out. I think you'd like it. Or if it's ever on like a super cheap sale, you can get it for less than $5.
Yeah,
I think it's worth that.
Yeah, if I caught it for $5, I would have picked it up. I just didn't pay attention to it. But then again, I don't really play a lot of MMOs these days. I'll fire WildStar every so often. My big free-to-play thing lately has just been going through really the single-player content and Varian, the occasional multiplayer battle, which feels so good whenever you play that. Oh.
Yeah, here's one thing I forgot to mention. Would you like to guess how large the download is for Elder Scrolls Online?
At least 3, maybe 4 floppy disks.
But
well, you said it's set in the past, so that's before Morrowind, and.
But no, take another shot.
Oh, well, based on WildStar, I would say 40 gigs at least.
Yep, you're definitely right on the at least part, but you could go higher.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It's 70 gigabytes.
I was about to double my guess and go 80.
Well, that's the initial download, and then there's another couple of downloads because, it's an MMO with a launcher, so it has to update everything. In
course.
total, it's like 77 or 78 gigs worth of download.
Well, I see why they gave it a free week. That way people could actually finish the download.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the first game in a long time that I've started the download and then just walked away. I mean, I have pretty decent internet. I can download most games in 4, 5, 10 minutes. That's a good YouTube video.
Yeah.
But this was like a 30-something minute download.
Yeah, damn. That would take a while. That's probably the better part of a day.
So.
Oh, no, actually, I take that back. That's probably like 3-4 hours.
Yeah. I was
Still
downloading it in the middle of the
day.
night, so no one was sharing my internet connection. But, yeah, still. if you were downloading it in the past, it would be like a good 4 or 5 years. All right.
No. Just think how long it would take to swap between all the discs.
Many hours of swapping.
Take a step. Please insert disc 13,426. Oh, shit. Where did I put that one? I had it just a couple of weeks ago.
If I could be bothered, I would do the math to see how many floppy disks it would actually be to hold 70 gigabytes, but I can't be bothered to do the math.
At least a dozen or two.
Yeah, at least. Okay, well, the other game that I played this week was Naval Ops Commander, which I've talked about this game before. I think it was when I was recommending games for people to check out if you were going to be doing some emulation or had a PS2 and wanted to play some PS2 games. What it is a naval game. It's a Japanese game, so there's some really weird like sci-fi kookiness that's going on. And you play in Naval Ops Commander, you play a fleet commander, and you have a maximum total of 4 ships under your command. And one of them, the primary ship that's yours, it's got a ship designer. You can build your ship and customize them. There's a ton of parts. Like, it starts in World War II technology, goes to the modern day, and then at a certain point, it jumps the shark and goes to sci-fi tech, and you get lasers and massive rail guns. And
can I put lasers on the shark?
You can. There's actually a submarine that's a shark, and I think it's called the Fin. And the only thing that you actually see of it when you're in the missions is like the fin sticking out of the water as it goes along. It's really powerful too. It can mount some of the most powerful missile and torpedo weapons in the game, but it can't like have any deck guns or anything like that because it's a shark submarine. But anyways, it's a really good, like, for me, I've played this game a ton. I mean, I owned it originally for PS2, and I played it for years until I got rid of my PS2, and I play it via emulation for a month or two every year. Like, whenever I get in the mood for it, it's like, man, I'm missing that Naval Ops. I'll start a new game, and I'll pick one of the different navies. You can be American, British, Japanese, or German, and each navy has a different focus and, like, things that it gets. I usually play American. I tend to focus on aircraft carriers and aircraft, and they have the largest selection of aircraft. Although the Germans get a flying saucer, so that's pretty cool.
Because of course they do.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just a lot of fun. I played through the first, 8 or 9 missions, listening to podcasts over the course of a couple of nights this past week. I'm still like in the early game stuff, so all the World War II technology, but I mean, it's just a good, fun, for me at this point, podcasting game. I mean, it's got a really silly story. There's these ships that are warping in from another dimension, and you have to help protect them, and they'll help you fight this war against the bad guys who are, like, wrecking the other dimension and taking over the world with all this, like, crazy sci-fi tech that they've gotten from somewhere. I don't think it ever tells you. But a lot of the sort of bosses in the game are based on like real world concepts or prototypes that never actually saw combat because they were stupid or the technology didn't exist to make them work. But obviously this is a video game, so why not make a giant aircraft carrier out of ice that fires lasers? Why not? Or a double hull battleship that...
Actually, I think I saw that on Mythbusters once.
The Habakkuk. It's actually a real military concept to build a ship out of ice.
Ice in newspapers, essentially, or ice in wood pulp.
Yeah, and it was meant to be used in the Arctic.
Packrete or something?
Yeah.
I was trying to remember exactly what it was, but yeah. And they were testing to see if it would actually work. It would be buoyant as hell until it melt.
Yeah, that's why it was designed to be used in the Arctic. You would have the cold to keep the outside... from melting, and then they had in the concept they had special coolant pipes that ran through it to keep the walls actually frozen solid.
Actually, if I recall correctly, that idea also appeared in a Jim Butcher book one time during the Codex Alera series.
Interesting.
Yeah, actually it did.
But
A very good book series. It's essentially a mixture of, well, the concept of it is the Lost Roman Legion plus Pokemon.
Well, all right then.
No, it sounds stupid as hell, but it's actually a really, really good book series.
No, that doesn't sound stupid. That sounds amazing.
And basically every single person has their own special power that, and there's the rock, paper, scissors aspect from Pokemon where, let's see, the people that are more affiliated with air, if, are weak against, earth-based or something like that. It's just a really weird, idea, and it's done so well.
Welcome to the book portion of the podcast. But yeah, I mean, it's just a fun game. The thing that honestly draws me in is the shipbuilding aspect of it. It's got a lot of detail, especially for a system that was designed in the early 2000s. You can modify all kinds of stuff. Different setups give you different sort of armor ratings and things. Like, if you stick to a very traditional design and try and concentrate your boilers and your turbines in the center of the ship, you'll get like a very concentrated armor, which is good against and resistant against torpedoes and things. Or if you spread your engines out because it'll make your ship faster because you're using like an inline design, which is more efficient but more susceptible to certain types of weapons fire and things like that. And it tells you all of that whenever you're building a ship. It's like, oh, it looks like you're using this. Here's what this is effective against. And it gives you like a little rating for it based on other things that you've done. It's just cool. I like it. And it's a game that I've been playing for over a decade now, off and on. It's got other games in the series, but Commander is my favorite just because you get to actually have some little ships that follow you around and you can give them orders and things. The Warship Gunner series, which is what this is a spin-off of, is focused on a single ship. You just control the single ship. And Warship Gunner 2 has got like a straight out of anime story. It doesn't even pretend to try and ground itself in reality at all. It's just straight up anime.
Also, you're dealing with Fabulous Hitler?
Pretty much, actually. It's crazy. Although the ROM for the Warship Gunner games, I don't know why, but they have problems. Commander works perfectly, but it could just be the version of the PlayStation emulator that I'm using. I haven't updated it in a while. But anyways, that's enough about the games that I played. We went over our 60 minutes as well. We're doing good.
Well, rather go over than under, right?
Absolutely. That's our motto. Over rather than under. Actually, our motto is we're incredibly lazy, but, you know. So you ready to move on?
I thought our motto was... Wait, we have a motto?
Ambitious but rubbish. That's Top Gear's motto. I don't think they'd mind if we used it, though. It's pretty apt. Anyways, are you ready to move on to news topics, dear sir?
I think so.
Okie dokie. Well, first topic we have is actually a general topic that's sort of based off of something that's happening in the news, but we wanted to expand it a bit. The media doesn't understand video games.
Yeah, this was triggered by a clip going around. I'm not going to link to it because it just encourages the bastards.
Right.
Also, this starts off on a rather sensitive topic, and, well, that's another reason why this is more of a general topic rather than focusing on that. The Cleveland shooter. If you haven't watched the video, please don't, because it's just encouraging more of this. He committed a murder and filmed it in first person, and one of the hosts on CNN compared it to a video game.
Uh-huh.
And there's been a fair amount of discussion on various places, and this one clip of this guy comparing this murder to how a first-person video game is handled. And he doesn't even say first-person. He blanket calls it video games, and that's one thing that really pissed me off about it. It's like talking about all music is about murdering cops because there's one rap song about killing cops. Okay, I'm
Yep.
sure there's more than one rap song about that, but still, it's the same general idea.
The amount of rap music, or the amount of rap songs that are about killing cops, is infinitesimally small compared to all of music in general.
Exactly. But it's the same basic idea of painting this wide brush because this one very niche idea. And this got us really going back and forth about how media just really doesn't understand video games in general. And this isn't just mass media as well. The whole 24-hour news cycle got to fill the airwaves, so we're going to say something stupid and just erode our credibility in the process. The game media does the same exact fucking same thing.
Yeah, and it's not even just violence in video games in the media. Like, every time something like this happens, like, I have this massive desire, urge to get on my soapbox and preach to the choir, because you guys all know it. That let's all say it together. Video games don't cause violence. They never have. They never will. There's not been a single shred of evidence in the 15 or 20 years of research that's been done on video games to corroborate violence to video games. And in fact, studies find the opposite. People and societies in general that play lots of video games have lower instances of violent crime. Because instead of these kids being out in gangs or whatever, or people in general, they're playing video games with their friends. There have been quite a few major studies.
Just giving kids shit to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same correlation that you see with after-school programs and sports programs and things like that. Kids that participate in these things are much less likely to participate in violent activities, or criminal activities, I guess I should say, beyond violence. It's a correlation to other things besides just violent crime, but any criminal activity.
Yeah, but here's the thing, is that it's the older generation that just looks at video games the same way that their parents looked at rock and roll music. And I'm sure their parents looked at jazz music, and their parents looked at
film.
Oh, no, Shakespeare or whatever.
Yeah, film and books. And
it just goes further and further back at how the new thing, the new media, the new ideas are the cause of all society's problems. When, honestly, these days, it's just the fact that it's a lot easier for shit like this to get out. It's, the last few months, I'm not sure what it is, if it's just been, the news really focusing on this, but how live streaming violent crimes have become more in the news. I mean, it's not just this one shooting. It's been a string of things in mass media. And they're looking for a cause when it's them.
They are definitely contributors. But the thing is it's like also, these things are just going to happen as the technology that we have develops and changes. And there's not one major like boogeyman to point a finger at, except I guess maybe progress. But I mean, there's so many benefits that the negatives, and the risks are outweighed. I mean, the internet has allowed tons of crimes to happen. Fraud, credit card fraud has become so common online that credit card companies will, for your first time, just accept at face value what happened and no questions asked, refund your money or whatever. But also collaboration of medical research and mass instantaneous communication, which sure has its downsides too, but by and large has been helpful. And on and on and on. I could go on and on and on. It's just, as technology develops, these things are going to happen. And you're right, the news media plays a big part in it. They're, the older generation, the old guard going, oh my gosh, this new video game thing, it's causing these people to be murderers and sex fiends. And
No, that's the rap music.
No, remember the Mass Effect thing? When Fox News called Mass Effect a sex simulator?
True, or it just makes you gay. One of the two.
Wait, what one was that?
Wasn't there? Shoot, now I'm blanking on the game. There was another one. Maybe it was someone talking about Dragon Age, where the whole thing where there was so many gay characters there. Now I'm blanking on where I saw that.
I'm
Or it may have been just people mocking it. Hell if I know, because that's the thing is that the satire of how mass media handles video games is more serious than how mass media handles video games.
So I typed into Google, and I'm going to regret this later, but video games make you gay.
Oh boy, here we go.
There are actually a number of articles from like right-wing websites that
Then let's just call it Fox News saying it somewhere.
that are making arguments for why video games turn your kids gay and that kids should play more sports and less video games. I mean, I'm heavily paraphrasing these, but that's the gist of what they're going for. Actually, and some of them are dead sites, dead links. So it's just like the headline that I guess exists in some cache or database or something.
And nothing of value was lost.
Although there's some interesting articles that have come up as well. Video games, the all-time 20 greatest queer video game characters, 7 awesome video games with LGBT storylines. So there's some positives to this search as well. So I don't completely regret it, but I was just looking for like a news article or something.
And you thought I was making that up.
No, I didn't think you were making it up. I just wanted to see where it came from.
And I'm blanking on where I originally saw that one, but there's just so much noise. And it's one of those things that, well, like we talked about, the news media just doesn't understand video games, and they're scared of them, honestly. It seems like that way, at least.
Yeah.
Where they're the entertainment these days. Video games is the biggest entertainment industry there is.
Yeah.
Bar none.
Yep. Was it 2015 or 2016 when video games passed film as the largest entertainment media?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go looking for that, and I'm
It's
sure
been
you're about to.
I'm fixing my hair right now, actually. I don't have free hands.
Gotta make yourself pretty.
I just put my hair back in its ponytail. I had it down. I was stroking it.
Oh my.
But yeah, it's been in the last few years video games overtook the film industry, or the gaming industry overtook the filming industry as the largest entertainment industry in the world.
Yeah, it's just I think it's partly just the fact that they don't understand, partly that they're looking for blame, and partly just groups trying to push their agenda with these tragedies. That's another thing, is that there's groups out there that are anti-video game, which is a little surprising if you think about it. Because well, what could they be against in video games outside of the industry itself? Because honestly, video games, they don't have an agenda. Well, in general, I guess I should say. It's not like trying to think of a good way to paraphrase this, because we're actually way off topic at this point, aren't we?
Maybe a little, but
where video games, it's one of those things where groups look at video games and see them as an evil. They see them as almost, well, religious groups are part of this, really, where they're looking at video games like they did rock and roll, like they do rap music, where they see it as a moral sin.
Yes, although I read an interesting book a couple of years ago called, what's it called? Of Games and God? And it's I believe it was a pastor. He's a younger pastor who wrote this book about video games and Christianity, and how that Christians shouldn't be so harsh on people who, I mean, he was honestly saying a lot of the things that we are, like the older generation and the conservative leaning people are treating this like how the generations before them treated, metal and rock and rap and certain films and things like that. He's like, hey, we're supposed to be accepting and loving and kind, and we should instead look how we can use video games as a tool. It was a really good book, actually. I wish I'd found it when I was writing my my senior thesis in college, which I wrote about the psychology of video games. It would have been an interesting standpoint to have in addition to a lot of the research I did at the time. But that's, I suppose, an entirely different topic in and of itself.
True. Or kind of tangential, but it is kind of related, really.
Yeah. At some point, if I can dig it up, I should post that somewhere. You guys can go tear apart my college paper. It's not too big. It's only like 25 or 26 pages.
Only?
Yeah, that's not too bad. I've written way bigger papers than that. But
then we get into how video game media handles things as well.
Yeah, they don't do a good job either.
A lot of that is more politically motivated rather than, having games be a general evil. It's this type of game or this type of character is this evil thing and must be eradicated.
Or this type of game player is going to be stereotyped and pigeonholed or something. Like, the thing that immediately springs to mind is the Mighty Number 9 ad that's like where that they're making fun of people who are also anime fans. Yeah. It's like the line is something like cries like an anime fan on prom night.
Yeah, but to be fair, Mighty Number 9 was already a clusterfuck to begin with. So it's almost like picking on No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Not quite, but close to it.
Yeah. I think that the hype machine from games media is a misunderstanding of video games.
Perhaps.
It's sort of been... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the games media has turned into a branch of the hype machine, and instead of trying to protect their customers and trying to inform consumers, it's turned into, let's hype up, since we mentioned Mass Effect before, let's hype up Mass Effect Andromeda and not mention that, the faces, they look kind of shit. The animations are kind of bad. But we'll have that in our review, maybe. But we're going to talk so much about the game upcoming. It's something that you don't see in any other form of media. Do you see how movies are talked about like this? No.
Oh, gosh, no. Films get torn to shreds all the time. Even, somewhere between like average to decent films receive mountains of negative criticism because the film industry has, they're not immune to it, but I think that they've gotten past their sort of, teenage years or whatever of their industry. And film critics are, film critics who hype praise like that constantly are looked down upon you're like they're sellouts or bad critics because they can't point out flaws and things.
Yeah, but games media, you'll have gamers are entitled because they didn't like how Mass Effect 3 ended.
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing. Maybe it's just the fact that the games industry is so young and got so big so quickly that we're still having the growing pains. We're not at the point where the games media could be objective from the industry itself.
Or at least as objective as something done by humans can be.
Yeah, true. Unless you program the AIs to review themselves.
I wonder if our future AI overlords will review video games like we do.
Russia is teaching Terminators how to shoot guns right now. Or did you see that article floating around?
I saw that.
No, it's not Terminator. But it's kind of a strange thing how we've just landed in this place where the rare critic is just... It feels like they're out of a completely different industry.
Yeah. Like Total Biscuit and Jim Sterling, those are the two execs used all the time.
Yeah, they are almost like movie critics rather than game critics.
Yeah. which, sets them apart in the industry. And it's one of the reasons that they get, so much sort of, I guess, industry pull, and then also so much industry flack. It's like, why won't you just step in line and be like everyone else? And they're like, no, we won't do that. I mean, there's others too. I follow quite a few video game critics that I feel like are very honest and give real legit criticism, and we don't always agree, but I feel like they are at least truthful in their criticism. So, but I mean, those are the two big guys. And Jim literally is a big guy. I think he and I are about the same size, except in height. I think he's a little bit taller than me. But
yeah, but he also makes up for it with the red tie.
Yeah.
The red tie is very slimming.
Indeed.
Is there anything else that we really need to talk about on this? I mean, we've kind of wandered around, and this is almost just blowing off steam over a lot of stuff, really, with how games are handled in general.
Yeah, every once in a while we have to get in our soapboxes and complain about stuff being stupid. I'm about to ask Jim Sterling on Twitter how tall he is.
Only if you follow up with, I didn't know they stack shit that high.
No, he would probably go along with it because he's Jim Sterling, but... Oh, apparently I have a contact called Dogs Love Chattanooga on Twitter. Who is this person?
I don't know.
I don't know who they are either.
Oh no! Actually, I think I said the password to you.
No.
Well, that's disappointing.
Let's go to their website.
And welcome to the random Twitter portion of the podcast.
Oh, this is like just a generic WordPress page. It even still says "Hello World." Actually, I think I know who these people would be. I think, but I'm not going to call out any names or anything. Okie dokie.
Well, and the thing is, we talked about this, and we could always just dive into the whole Gamergate controversy as well, and how that morphed and changed.
I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure I understand Gamergate, despite following it as closely as I could. It just turned into a shouting match.
Yeah, that's it. The loudest voices on either side kind of overwhelmed what the core message of Gamergate was. And honestly, it still kind of is. There's still some people that talk about the ethics of video game journalism without that being a joke. But the thing is that a lot of that turned into, well, one, the initial Zoe post. People jumped to defend her, calling a lot of that sexist. And that's where a lot of that came from what I understand. And it's really a shame that it divulged into the shouting match, because as a core concept of what Gamergate was, I can fully support, these game journalists being held accountable for what they say and being ethical, being held to the simple code of ethics that other media supposedly follows. I mean, let's be honest, sometimes that falls through as well, but then it just turned into, you're sexist. I'm not sexist, you're sexist. And the message just got lost. And it's really disappointing on just how that happened, really.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready to move on, sir?
I think so.
Okie dokie. Next on our topic list, Nintendo discontinues the NES Classic Edition.
Those dumb fuckers.
I know. I don't know why they did this. Well, they still could not supply enough units to meet demand.
Well, I've sat down and I've thought about this, and I've got a couple of possibilities. For those who don't know, the Nintendo NES Classic Edition is They're essentially retro blocks of what is it, 30 games in it?
Yes, 30 games.
That's stylized like a little mini Nintendo entertainment system. And you plug it in, there you go. And that's it. There's no downloadable stuff. It's all just there. My first thought is licensing. They had these games licensed for a specific amount of time because not all of this is in-house developed Nintendo stuff. There is some Capcom stuff. There is some Square Enix stuff, or Squaresoft at the time. So it may be just simply down to the evil of licensing. And the fact that they weren't expecting this to be that popular, which, honestly, Nintendo has about the inverse problem of Square Enix, where they vastly underestimate the demand, while Square Enix vastly overestimates. So it could just be simply down to licensing, or the fact that we may see a version 2 coming out, where they'll go to the Super Nintendo, or they'll have another NES Classic Edition 2 with a different set of games, or some different games. And that's what I'm really thinking is possibly a mixture of those two, where they had a planned obsolescence of the license to begin with, and they wanted to put out a different version of it. That's the only thing I could think of that makes any sort of sense.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo has been notorious for making their stock, what was the word? Oh yeah, non-existent.
Yeah. So I hadn't considered the licensing portion of it.
Because it's been about 6 months since it launched, right?
Yeah, it launched somewhere around September, October last year. Like, it was specifically supposed to be a holiday product.
Yeah, which
and
makes
then
me
they
think
said,
a licensing thing. Yeah, just the time frame of things.
Yeah, then they said they were going to continue to produce new units going into the new year. And I don't think that they ever said, like, we're only going to do one more run, or we're only going to do X amount. It was just a general, we're going to keep producing these. So, but the licensing part I hadn't considered, but I had considered, well, they're going to do a Super Nintendo version, or a different version with different games, which I guess for the average consumer, it's like, oh, gotta get all the games. But, I mean, it's super easy to mod this console and put all of the games on it. So
the fact that they have a built-in micro USB port.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure for a decent chunk of their users how effective that would be. But still, I could see Nintendo doing that, because Nintendo doesn't understand markets and the internet, and how things work online.
Well, I've called them this before. They're the Apple of consoles, where they have it where their console is set at a premium, either in price with all the accessories, look at the Switch, or just they send out 5 units per store whenever pre-orders have 50.
Yeah. But I definitely see them. I mean, I'm not interested in the NES Classic. I did not grow up in the NES era. I'd already moved on to Super Nintendo by the time I was old enough to start playing games. So the NES doesn't interest me, but I would be interested in a Super Nintendo or an N64 version, just to have like some physical hardware. I know I can emulate. And
I'm not sure if the NES would work as well, because that's the thing, is that the NES era, specifically the NES, lives in that era where it was going to 3D and everything really doesn't age all that well. I mean, let's be perfectly frank.
I would totally play some classic Donkey Kong. And what are some other games that I played on Super Nintendo a lot when I was a kid? All the Donkey Kongs. I used to play those with my parents, actually. That was a lot of fun. Like, they would watch me play, and they would read the guidebook. And,
it's like, what the fuck is this?
Tell me how to do stuff, and then, like, watch me fail 100 times or whatever. And then I'd get mad. They'd be like, okay, go to bed. And then they'd play it until they could beat it. And then when I'd wake up the next day to go play again, they'd be like, okay, we beat it for you. I'd be like, wow. I was like 4 or 5, I think. Maybe even a little bit younger. It might have been 3. Not 100% sure. I don't have very good memories from that age, as most people don't. But yeah, I'd be interested in a Super Nintendo version and an N64 version, but nothing past that. I mean, I've got the Dolphin emulator. I haven't installed it yet, just because I've been doing some PS2 stuff. And I probably should get... See, the thing is that even though I played a ton of N64 games, I don't look fondly back on very many of them.
Yeah, true. Like I said, the N64 is right around that era where they were grasping new technology, and a lot of it doesn't age that well. The controller is just an absolute mess.
Yeah, it's a stupid controller.
Yeah, unless you have 3 hands, then it's fine.
Maybe since I have a beard now, like I could hold it up to my face and my beard could play, could do like the joystick.
Now I'm just imagining that the Robot Chicken sketch where William Shatner's toupee was alive.
Oh, the shit.
It would have these adventures and come back with a Medal of Honor. It's like, what is this? And put it in the drawer with all the other ones.
Yeah. But so yeah, I guess I don't know why they don't continue selling them unless it's specifically planned obsolescence for another version of this year, or something to do with licensing, which I hadn't considered before. I don't see why Nintendo does not want people's money.
The only other way I could see this happen, see a issue here, is if they're seeing this as cannibalizing the digital console, their virtual console on the Switch when they roll that out, which is just foolish because honestly, the people that want the NES Classic want it for the hardware. They want that cute little gray box,
Yeah.
And to sell on their shelf because it's nostalgia for them. And they've canceled pretty much the entire run worldwide. They canceled in Europe, the US, and they canceled the Famicom, which is the Japanese version of this.
Yep. So
it just seems so foolish. It has to be licensing. That's the only way this makes sense. It just otherwise it's Nintendo being, well, Nintendo. Yep. And that's probably the best way I could say it without sounding incredibly racist.
I don't know if it's racist or not to make that observation. I mean, in general, the Japanese do really struggle to understand modern internet and PC as in computer culture.
Well, have you watched Avenue Q? Everything's a little bit racist.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. They just went a different direction from the rest of the world. Or most of the rest of the world. They're catching up. They'll get there eventually.
I blame all the radiation.
That might be part of it.
There was some sort of mutant gene that evolved because of all the radiation and turned everything cute.
I'm not sure if I feel ashamed or proud of that, because we're the ones who gave them all that radiation.
Look at it this way. It created anime.
I can handle that. Alrighty. Well, are you ready to move on to our next news topic?
I think so, but I think I need to go get some more water.
Okie dokie. Well, let's take a trip down to the elevator, and we'll be right back. I guess I'll use this opportunity to go to the bathroom. Even though I could hold it for a while longer, just so you know.
Well, I'm through 1.5 liters of water, and I need to go get some more.
Oh, you're doing good then. All right, and we're back from our journey to the land of snackdom and bathroom breaks and beverages. We went up and down many floors and wonder why we don't put everything on the same floor.
Well, that's because my apartment has 2 floors.
My house only has 1 floor. But I don't know how this is funny or relevant, so I'm just going to hit the eject button on this conversation. Let's go talk about our next news topic.
Welcome to the rest of the podcast with that phrase.
Yep.
I don't know how this is funny or relevant. There's our motto.
That should be our motto. I don't know how this is funny or relevant. I love it. That has to be the title of this episode. I have to make a quick note so that I don't forget. There. Then I'll remember what to title the episode. Except I spelled relevant wrong. There, I fixed it. All right, our next news topic. There's a rumor that Halo 3 is finally coming to PC.
Yeah, this is all stemming from an A&D, press conference and show that they had some Halo 3 artwork. And that's pretty much all where this is coming from what I can tell. But there is some things that kind of lean towards maybe Microsoft is wanting some money for Halo.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because while they are releasing Halo Wars, the first one on PC.
Yep, standalone.
That wasn't on PC before. And yeah, this is the last piece of the trilogy that... I made the joke, finish the fight, which that's what this is, really. I mean, it's the end of the original storyline, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, Halo 3 is the end of the original trilogy. I mean, by that point, Halo had spawned a universe, but the main 3... I think it's known as the Master Chief Saga. I mean, he comes back in subsequent titles, but...
Yeah, but the thing is that it's been an incomplete story, for ages on PC. Yeah, much like Half-Life.
Yeah, you got 1 and 2, but 3, nowhere to be seen.
And I just delayed Half-Life another day. You're welcome.
But, so the logic or the reasoning is, why would AMD have these images if it's not sort of
that particular artwork?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, because that's the Halo 3, one of the shots from the Halo 3 trailer, I believe. I had a poster of this in my dorm room in college.
Nerd!
Yeah, nerd. Had a bunch of them.
Nerd!
Although one sort of counter explanation is that AMD does build the custom chipsets for the Xbox consoles. So perhaps for some sort of recognition or something. I mean, I think that's stretching it a little bit. It really doesn't make sense.
Honestly, there's a lot of stretching on both sides of the argument for this, to be perfectly frank.
That's true. I mean, they could have just received permission to use one of the most popular properties in gaming.
Funny, that didn't look like Minecraft.
I said one of. I mean, Master Chief has got to be in, like, the top 10, right? I mean, Nintendo holds most of the most recognizable characters, but, I mean, Master Chief has got to be up there, right?
True. The thing is, Master Chief is also very generic. So it's one of those things that... how can you tell Master Chief from someone else in the same armor?
I don't think Master Chief is...
I think people would recognize Halo more than Master Chief.
Well, I mean, Master Chief, I think, is sort of like the successful thing that everything else imitates. I mean, we've talked multiple times about how Halo rewrote the rulebook for shooters, and I think Master Chief has become generic because he was so successful, so everyone tried to copy the Halo's formula.
True. Looking back at just an older game, that's the problem with playing a retro game is, this feels really generic because, this was the spawning point of this mechanic, of this mechanic, of that mechanic, of this idea. And Halo is one of those that it's rife with it because it was one of the major ones that did the 2 weapon system before really it became popular. It has a hybrid hit point / regenerating health system. It was one of the major sci-fi shooters. I mean, yes, I realize Doom is also a sci-fi shooter, but I think it's one of the ones that made it more popular with everyone.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm excited for this to be true. I mean, yeah, I've gushed a lot here lately about my love for the Halo franchise, so
Can't imagine why.
obviously I would like it if this was the case, but I'm not sure if I would buy it, because if they release Halo 3, it won't be too long until they release some kind of collection that has them. I wouldn't be surprised if they ported the Master Chief Collection, which has Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4 in it, and also Halo ODST, which was kind of the Halo 3 spinoff that they did. But I wouldn't be surprised if they released that, say, a year after Halo 3. And I could probably wait a year. I mean, I do have the Master Chief Collection for Xbox, so if I really wanted a Halo fix, I could play it there. It would be better on PC, but I think I could wait a year to get my fix in.
Yeah, I'm just
to get them all.
Looking around to see just how hard it is to get the PC version of Halo 2, and it's pretty much it's once again you can't get it digitally as far as I can tell. It's just all the physical copies, and then it's plagued with the cancer that is Games for Windows Live.
Yeah, I could totally.
You would think a super soldier would be not susceptible to cancer like that. Huh.
You would think. Well, I guess genetic engineering can only go so far. Actually, I think they cured cancer in the Halo series in like the 22nd century. But that's beside the point. I would be very happy though with a digital version of the Master Chief Collection on PC. I'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's very tough to play Halo. I mean, I had to do a lot of messing around to even get Halo Combat Evolved to work correctly, and it's not recording properly. I'm getting a micro stutter with it. I'd love to see a updated version.
Yeah,
and just the fact that if I want to continue the Halo series, well, I have one option. It's Halo 2, and then assuming I could get it to work without Games for Windows Live, and I'm not looking forward to getting that working. And the thing is, I don't even get the full story, which is a little disappointing. That's why I kind of want to see this come to fruition. I want to see the complete story, but I don't want to play with a damn controller to do it.
Yeah. So speaking of the Halo Wars Definitive Edition, I just decided for giggles to go check and see if you could buy it on the Microsoft Store, since they're now releasing it on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, it doesn't look like you can buy it separately. You have to get the Ultimate Edition of Halo Wars 2 to get the Definitive Edition of Halo Wars. At least right now. They might switch it on whenever it goes live, but that's interesting. They're not releasing a Halo game standalone on the Microsoft Store. You get it on Steam, though.
Well, to be fair, you are searching on the Microsoft Store, so who knows? It could be there, and the search function's just fucked again.
Possibly, but
because the Windows 10 store is just talk about cancer.
Indeed.
Maybe by the 22nd century, we'll cure and get rid of the Windows 10 store.
Not likely. Do you have anything else you want to add to this topic?
Not really. And this is more just a kind of a bullshitting, and hoping this comes true, because I would like to finish the story and not have to mess with. Well, is there even an Xbox emulator to run it on? I don't think
there's not an Xbox 360 emulator, not a full one, anyways. There's like a tech sort of demo one that exists that, if you're really good at programming, you could probably get games to work. There is an original Xbox emulator, so you could at least play Halo 2. I think.
Xbox doesn't have a lot of emulators. It doesn't have nearly the emulation that the PlayStation has.
No. Particularly PS2, specifically.
Which, from what I understand, it's due to the documentation of the chips. There's a lot more out there for the Sony chips, for how the PlayStation is put together, really. And that's why they could backwards engineer it. reverses to the earth. Is that they're able to figure out, okay, this does this, this does this. Oh, so that's why this console sucks.
Yeah, but the PS2 is pretty cool.
Yeah, it did have a lot of classic games.
Yeah.
The thing is that also, well, the console's gone to the whole paid online thing, which even Nintendo's been caught up in that cancer.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not interested in consoles anymore. Because I don't play online enough to justify the $60 to begin with.
Yeah.
And it just seems so foolish, especially whenever a lot of it is peer-to-peer. Or at least it seems that way.
I think most console online stuff is peer-to-peer.
So you're paying them to essentially do matchmaking to run the server off your own console. Why are you paying them again?
Free games, man.
You're paying them.
Free games, man.
You're paying them.
Free games, man. Free games. Free games. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, you are done.
All right, let's move on to our next news topic.
Speaking of free games.
Yeah, the original Starcraft is now free. It received an update, or a patch, I guess, and announced that you could pick it up for free. As far as I know, there's no time limit on this.
Yeah, this was kind of out of the blue because they're talking about the remastered edition, which I think that's going to be a paid thing. I haven't been able to find any info if that's going to be paid or not.
I have no idea. No, I assume it's paid, but I don't know that for sure.
But the fact that they put out the original StarCraft and its expansion for free is a little surprising.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that this is not the source of RTS, but it's one of the first really popular RTS.
Yeah, it was one of the RTSs that sort of paved the way, you know?
Yeah, and then Korea lost their shit.
Yeah.
Or at least South Korea.
So, what they patched in was support sort of out of the box, as long as you get the patch, for Windows 7, 8, and 10. Updated a bunch of stuff so that it works properly at modern day resolutions. Looks like, I mean, they added some other things like display your actions per minute.
Put in the pretty much
mode.
the popular maps directly into the box instead of having to download them.
Yeah. So just a lot of fixes and a few quality of life things to sort of bring the overall game up to speed with modern gaming. And then just said, here you go. Have fun. So that's
I'm
pretty
not sure
cool.
if it's something I'm going to check out just because I'm not that great at RTS. I love watching StarCraft. It's one of those things that it's just fascinating to me, especially with how well some of the high-end players multitask and just the insane amount of micro going on. But it's also one of those things that I look and think, there's no way I could ever hope to even be a tenth of this good.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. I mean, it's free. Why not? And I do like RTS. I'm probably a lot worse at them than I think I am because I've never really gotten into the multiplayer scene for most RTS games. But, you know, why not? So, I'm looking forward to checking it out maybe this week or next week. I downloaded it earlier. I haven't run the installer and the patcher yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And who knows, I might even pick up the remastered edition if it's cheap enough.
Yeah, that's the thing. I haven't found a lot of info on what they're doing exactly with the remastered edition. I've seen some comparison screenshots, and a lot of it looks like it's just really tightening up the graphics.
Yeah.
Which, this is how old of a game? 20-year-old?
Yeah, something like that. Didn't it come out in the mid-90s?
Oh, damn, we're old.
I think the original StarCraft came out in, I want to say 97? Let
Well, let's
Google
put it
that.
this way. They say the original Starcraft has been patched for the first time in over 8 years on the Reddit thread.
Yeah. Let's see.
The fact that, like I said, they didn't have to make this free.
StarCraft released in March 31st, 1998.
So right at the 20-year mark.
Yep. Coming up on it.
Amazing just how far StarCraft has come in 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, StarCraft 2, honestly, is due for an overhaul. That game's pretty old as well. I mean, I know they've added to it in the last couple of years, but...
You got the expansion packs, but the thing is that there's been a lot of complaints about how well it runs that's not greatly optimized.
Yeah.
That it doesn't work well on modern systems, ironically enough.
That's funny.
So shall we move along, or?
Yeah, let's move it along. I mean, I don't really have anything else to add. Just I felt like this was a had to. Like we had to mention this.
Yeah, it's one of those things that StarCraft. It's a staple of gaming. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, esports scenes. Well, I would say probably MMOs. Is a branch off of the RTS genre to begin with. So the strategy genre, or the real-time strategy genre, is the biggest of the esports scenes just in general.
Yeah,
I think that's a safe assessment to say if you are including MOBAs into that, which I kind of am.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're strategy. So, all right. Next on our news topics, Crytek Shanghai closes after not paying employees for 6 months.
Yeah, this one was kind of out of the blue.
Yeah, this story came out today, I think.
Yeah, this is a late-breaking story, so I'm assuming that there's going to be some follow-up to this.
Probably. I mean, in general, Crytek has been in trouble for a number of years. There's articles going all the way back to late 2012, early 2013, discussing financial troubles that they've been having, and throughout the last few years, they've slowly been closing each and every one of their branches, and they're now down to their home office.
Yeah, the subsidiaries of Crytek's, their defunct office list is rather lengthy.
Yeah.
On Wikipedia. And honestly, it seems like a lot of what Crytek is floating on these days is just their technology. They're turning... Valve is probably a bad example of this. Well, maybe not, but they're turning from a game company into something else. Turning into a software company running off the CryEngine and the licensing of it because, let's just take a look at their games developed. The last... real game is probably a bad term for it, but let's go for it because the other two are either... there's two VR games and there's an iOS game. But Rise Son of Rome was their last AAA title, and that was a release title for the Xbox One in 2013. Yep. And Warface the same year, and Crysis 3 in the same year. Then they've had, the Collectibles, which was an iOS game that doesn't even have its own Wikipedia page. The Climb, which is an Oculus VR game. Robinson the Journey, which is a PlayStation VR title. And Horrors of the Gilded Age, which is coming out this year. And that's their lineup. Well, they have Arena of Fate, which is also coming out at some point, but that's to be announced. But it's all coming down to their engine licensing. That's where their money is. There's a long list of CryEngine games, but not a lot from Crysis themselves. So something has to give.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Crytek is pretty much... They in the past year, maybe in the past 6 months, they released sort of a dev kit. Dev kit's the wrong word. They... dev kit might be the right word. They did sort of the same thing that Unreal has been doing for... I don't know, several years at this point, and made the Crytek engine available to much smaller developers. You can either license it or sort of subscribe to it, or you could just buy it outright. And that's how they've been surviving for a long time.
trying to compete, I guess, with Unity.
Maybe. Although I've always thought of their direct
that,
competitor as the Unreal Engine.
Well, that's the big three for indie games these days is Unreal, the CryEngine, which the CryEngine has a rather lengthy list of games, some of which are still in development. Let's see, Snow, Sniper, Ghost Warrior 2. These are CryEngine 3 games. Let's see, MechWarrior Online's a CryEngine game.
I did not know that.
The CryEngine 3. Of course, the Crysis games are Crysis 2 and Crysis 3, with Crysis 1 on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 being CryEngine 3s. Let's see, the CryEngine 5 looks like it's only been developed or been updated to in the last year or so, because the earliest games are 2016. So that's where their money has to be coming from. Otherwise, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things that this shows that, coders, artists in the games industry need support. They need that union that we talked about ages ago.
Yeah.
Because
definitely do.
In any other industry, that unions would be on Crysis's ass
for not paying their employees
within a month, let alone 6. But the thing is that there's so many starry-eyed youngsters. Boy, that phrase makes me sound old.
Indeed.
Excuse me, let me go downstairs so I can grab my cane to shake at these people. But these starry-eyed kids just fresh out of high school, out of college, wanting to get into the games industry, they'll put up with this shit, and there's an endless supply of them because the games industry still has that mystique about it. I get to go work for Crysis. Well, I loved Far Cry growing up. Granted, they've only made the original Far Cry, and the other two were Ubisoft titles, but that's splitting hairs at that point.
The other 4?
Yeah.
the other 4 Far Cry games. 2, 3, Blood Dragon, and 4. Yeah.
Yeah, the other ones are just CryEngine only, with Ubisoft being the publisher and Ubisoft Montreal being the developer. But it's still the same thing. They're seeing Crysis, they're seeing Far Cry, and it's like, I want to go work for Crysis, and getting absolutely shit on because they have no protection.
Yeah.
Evolve was a CryEngine game. I forgot about that.
If a company...
sorry, I just saw Evolve and it's like... I had a giggle.
I mean, if the company that I work for didn't pay me for more than one pay period, like if there was a mistake or whatever, okay, fine. It happens sometimes. But if they didn't pay me for more than one pay period, I'd be looking for another job right then, and I'd leave as soon as possible. I couldn't imagine working 6 months for Omni without getting paid.
Well, like we talked about before, it's a mixture of just kids wanting to get into the industry, because that the people that were not getting paid were not the old guard of the company. These weren't the
senior people, senior devs,
the senior staff, the management. This was the coding pit, essentially.
Yep.
A matter of fact, there was a Reddit thread last month, which I must have missed, from a guy in Crytek Shanghai, talking about how they weren't getting paid and trying to get attention to this, and it didn't happen until they closed down their office. It's astonishing that it's come to this, really.
Yeah,
the Shanghai office was the one that was focusing on the company's VR projects as well. So that's the latest stuff from Crytek, not counting their core games that they're working on.
Yeah. It looks like that Crytek has made a statement, and in the article there's a picture of it, that is saying that they will pay people up through October. Wait, am I...
Do you wish to read this?
No, we don't have to read the whole thing. They're just saying that they're gonna pay people So I don't know if
Yeah,
there's some
but
way we can hold them to that, but let's try and figure out if we can. I mean, these people deserve to be paid. They certainly were working.
yeah, but that's the thing is that they are shutting down the office, so it's up to their honor, really.
Yeah.
And this is the Shanghai office, so this is the Chinese office. So, and that may be down to that as well. That may be part of it.
Well, most Asian cultures really value loyalty, group loyalty, not necessarily just family.
That may be part of the reason why they were able to go 6 months without being paid, is that it's that ingrained culture. Granted, I know that especially true in the Japanese culture. I'm not sure about the Chinese culture.
No,
and the fact that if you get those two mixed up, the two cultures, they get really pissed off, by the way.
They do. I mean, that holds true for most Eastern cultures. Japan and South Korea and Vietnam are probably some of the biggest examples of it, but Chinese culture holds pretty close to that too. They're probably one of the ones that are stepping away from that the most, between their population issues, and when I say that, I mean the vast proportion of more males to females, and then they're sort of being thrust into a more modern world. I mean, they still have a lot of issues with things like censorship and government propaganda. I mean, not that other places don't, but China is pretty bad about it. I was about to
say, wow, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, I mean, coming from a still fairly communistical government structure, they've got a lot of it. But they're being thrust into the 21st century. China is believed to be the next superpower. So, I mean, they are being introduced in the world stage a lot more, and they're indoctrinating a lot of Western values. I mean, they still have, particularly in the older portions of the population, the strong Eastern family, grouping,
so does
selfless.
This mean that we'll be wearing Chinese blue jeans and listening to their pop music?
Chinese pop music, I hope not. I'd rather have J-pop. And you're probably already wearing Chinese blue jeans.
You're thinking I'm wearing pants, huh?
Yeah, fair enough. I'm wearing pajama pants.
Well, thanks, dude. What, really quiet?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you went silent on me there.
Well, I was drinking some water.
Fair play.
Because I can't run my fan because it makes too much background noise.
Yeah, so thanks, this is welcome to the cultural education portion of the podcast. Me just dropping some of my cultural education and training on you guys. Whether or not you know that sort of thing, I'm going to gift it to you. Because you're here listening to me.
Wait, does this mean I get Steam trading cards from you?
No.
Ah, damn.
I don't really know how much more I have to say about this. Just, it's surprising to read this headline, but then when you go back and look at the history of what's been happening to Crytek.
Having some severe financial issues for ages, and the fact that, I didn't realize just how many of their offices had closed over the last, they have 4 offices here listed closing in 2016 with 1 closing in 2017.
Yeah. I mean, the next year or two are going to be sort of make or break years for them. Either they'll, through downsizing and refocusing on what's most profitable for them, they'll make a comeback, or they just won't be able to recover, and they'll be gone in another year or so.
I'm going to say, if the next, they have 3 games in the pipe right now, according to the Wikipedia article. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but what the hell. If these games don't take off, I'm fully expecting to see Crytek focus to be a software development company, a game tool development company.
Yeah. And
licensing their Crytek engine and developing new behind-the-scenes tech, and stop being a game developer. Which is sad, but it seems to be running that course anyway.
I bet Amazon will buy them. Amazon already has a special version of the CryEngine that they've made modifications to. It's called
true. I forgot about
something
that.
like the Timber line or Timber something
Lumber,
engine.
timber, something.
Yeah. I'm just gonna call it Lumberjack because I want to.
There was wood involved.
They've got the I see what you did there. They've got the Lumberjack engine. I don't think that's actually its name. That's what I'm gonna call it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon buys them up because Amazon has been doing that a lot.
Are you saying it's okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Sleeps all night. He works all day. But Amazon has been doing that a lot in the last few years. I mean, they bought Twitch. They've started to integrate Twitch a lot more. They're trying to bring in game devs and publish titles on their own, or sort of under Amazon. They've got one of the best gaming platforms to get mobile games from. They offer free stuff all the time. I mean, Amazon is really making this push.
And through Twitch, they're also developing their own digital game distribution service.
Yeah, with I forget what it's called, but it's that Twitch sponsored whatever, where you buy games on a Twitch streamer's page.
Yeah, which is kind of scummy. It's one of those things that it makes me a little leery because, oh damn, that could lead to some severe misrepresentation of games. That, and also, some games work a lot better as a Twitch game than being played themselves.
Yeah, I think overall it's a good idea that is going to have to go through some growing pains.
Yeah, there's going to be some severe exploitation of that system that they have to deal with ASAP.
Yeah. But so I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon bought Crytek if they go under. I mean, who knows what they would become at that point, but I bet Amazon would buy them.
You would say they'll be ingrained in Amazon's wood?
Yeah, they will.
So moving swiftly along?
Indeed, let's move swiftly along out of the news and into Community Corner. And we are going to start with Ghost Shark's very long Fonzie.
Oh my.
Hey, here's Ghost Shark.
Good evening. So, you guys were talking about Star Wars vehicles or ships last week, and of course, that's just an invitation for me to join in. This is basically going to be a chance for me to flex my Star Wars nerdness without fear of who am I kidding? You guys know me by now. Without having to worry about putting my input in when it's not really required, because you guys were talking about Star Wars, so you opened the floodgates. So you guys, Kyle was mentioning about the logistics behind manning something that big. One thing to kind of note and it came up in one of the more recent books, just what the Imperial Navy eats. Generally, the general consensus is that they eat nutrient paste. Sometimes there's different flavors and stuff like that, but it's just all in all, it's just boring, bland, efficient. Are there restaurants on ships and stations like the Death Star and much smaller stations too? Yeah, there are, but it's generally frowned upon in Imperial Navy society or culture to eat regularly at those places. I'm trying to remember exactly the wording behind why they mentioned this, but it's something along the lines of basically you don't want to look like you're too much better than everybody else. Something about uniformity and trying to fit in. So that's one thing. So when you're feeding an entire military based on a handful of flavors of food or goop, you don't really have to worry about storing too much in the way of, different things. When your menu choice is A, B, C, or D, you only have to have 4 different containers worth of stuff to hold. That being said, looking at logistics outside of the Star Wars universe on big ships like that, and most sci-fi things that I've read, it doesn't always have to. These things are constantly supplied by other ships. If you look at it, with hydroponics and things like that, you could have a ship that would support itself. Now, granted, that would mean there's more weight and more power and more engines needed to push the thing around through space, which then means you're going to need more people. to power, to run everything, which then means you're going to need more food supplies, which means more hydroponics, so on. It's a vicious cycle, but it's not out of the ordinary. Most of the books that I've seen or read, and movies and stuff, that a ship can be self-supporting. And honestly, you kind of look at what some of the scientists are planning for long-haul missions, and there is there is a bit of self-sufficiency that is going to be put into long-term missions. So that's the thing. Now you could kind of drop some of these hydroponics bays and other reclamation facilities and stuff down by, like you guys had mentioned, having droids. Just more power plants to recharge and repair those kinds of things. That would take up less space over the long term than food supplies, and you would be able to get by on less crews, so you could shrink the vessel down, or at least keep the vessel down to more manageable levels where except for where crewed compartments are. So, Death Star logistics. So I got to doing a little research and just looking at numbers. This is off of Wikipedia. You're looking at somewhere between 1.1 to 1.2 million personnel. I believe that is including any Navy and Army complement outside of running station. I think that number includes it, along with almost 26,000 stormtroopers. That's coming out of some Star Wars guide book that was written years ago, probably, but that's not that important. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, yes, there's probably a lot of supplies that would be going in there. A lot of it we probably wouldn't have seen on the movie, just because of the fact that it, as big as the space station is, as small as some of those resupply ships would have been seeing them buzzing behind the curtains talk. They probably wouldn't have thought about that back in the day anyway, or had the technology to make that kind of special effects efficiently or cost effectively, let's put it that way. So just as a frame of reference, I also did a little digging at some of the other ships around, and looking at the Imperial Star Destroyer, any major numbers on that. I do seem to remember that there was... No, I still can't find it. Yes, there is. About 35,000 to 40,000 people on a single Star Destroyer. So, again, 2 years worth of consumables. That would be something that could easily be supplied fairly regularly, with the fact, considering that all the Imperial Navy ran on. But I guess the point I'm trying to make about it is, you look at these kind of numbers and, thinking of futuristic type storage and transportation, it wouldn't be completely unheard of, or it probably wouldn't be out of the ordinary to be able to mass equip a ship of that size, or keep it running supplies. So, I don't know. The other thing I was going to mention too is, if you doing some research, I looked into all of these sizes and crew complements and things like that, and there are places where there's differing numbers. You can kind of chalk that up to the dark days between the movie and between the original trilogy and the books that started coming out in the 90s-ish era. The Timothy Zahn series that started it all after the franchise kind of died out a little bit. The dark times, as I call them, the only new information Star Wars wise that was coming out around the time was the old West End games, role-playing game. And the creators of that, or the people who wrote stuff for that, took some pretty strange liberty when it came to sizes like that. Case in point, I forgot to look it up, so the TIE Scout. If anybody's not familiar with the TIE Scout is, it's essentially, it's been in some of the computer games, but it's essentially, if you take the TIE Advanced, which is what Vader used in Episode 4, and you add a second story to it, essentially that's what you get. Now, computer game, comics and stuff, artist interpretation show it as basically what I said, where it's a two-story kind of double-decker bus style TIE Advanced. And what it was designed to do was, it didn't have any no weaponry. It was just equipped with a whole bunch of high-end electronics and surveillance, and it had like 3 pilot and systems officers. And it was basically just something that would jump in, be able to report on whatever's going on in this need, jump back out. But essentially, it was just advanced eyes, another fleet. But when you look at the technical specification of the TIE Scout, it says it has a length of 24 meters. That seems a bit off. And when you look at the TIE Advanced, like I said, since it has basically the same size, length of these things, V1, that is the prototype model from Rebels, the TIE Advanced X1 has a length of 9.2. Now, like I said, everything picture-wise and artists have made shows what I've said, a double-decker TIE Advanced. At 9.2 meters for the TIE Advanced, there's no way that's going to work. I've actually seen a drawing where somebody had drawn supposedly the Scout to correct proportions, and it ended up looking like a stretch limoed TIE Advanced. So, what am I getting out of this? There is some pretty crazy inconsistencies when you start really getting into the weeds of all Star Wars, depending on what source it came from and when that was created. There's some pretty oddball numbers that got thrown out. The Corellian Corvette is another example where, in canon, in the old Legends canon, there were several that had been designed as a pocket carrier with a flight deck and all kinds of things like that. In newer canon, like in Rebels that we've seen, you see that there's just no way those things are too small to be able to have a hangar bay in the forward deck, which is usually where they said this thing was at. So it's all good. It's Star Wars. It's fun. It's a cool story. If you're into it. Sorry, Kim. I'm ranting again. But yeah, it's maybe they acquired TARDIS technology from the Time Lord to make some of their ships bigger on the inside than they are on the outside. I don't know. Anyway, that's about all I had for the Star Wars stuff. Oh, one thing I did have real quick to finish it up. My book recommendation. Since Jared was talking about the Ark, whatever, I can't remember what it was right now. Sorry, Jared. But my recommendation is a series called The Chris Longonite, and it's essentially the tale of a princess. She's of a royal family on a kind of a backwater planet that is basically backwater in name only. They're much more advanced, just as advanced in terms of technology as the old Cradle worlds, Earth, and the older colonies worlds and stuff. But essentially, it's just her going from a buck ensign all the way up to eventually becoming an admiral. Her misadventures along the way. But what I find awesome about it is the fact that the tech, it's very realistic. It's Newtonian physics in terms of how flight works. So it's very KSP-ish, where you have to deal with trajectories and angle, making orbits, and things like that, rather than the traditional Star Wars way of it's fluid space and you fly around like you inside of liquid, a boat. So, cool technology, or cool instances of where there was thought put out, like the constant acceleration, where you're burning from a jump point to a planet. You constantly have the engine on until the halfway point, and then you flip ship and you're decelerating backwards till you come up on wherever you're supposed to be at. Things like that. Combat is either lining up trajectories and coming alongside each other and turning it into a slugging match of just shooting lasers back and forth because you can't outmaneuver, and get away without showing your tail in your engines and becoming vulnerable. Or it's lining up a passing shot with terms of trajectory, and you have several hours of boredom and paranoia, and then a split second worth of shooting and exchanging volleys, and then you see how badly you did or how badly the enemy did. Really cool stuff. And as far as logistics goes, it's more manageable, where there is an element of self-sufficiency in terms of water and basic necessities like that, but there isn't much in the way of growing food on the ship, just because of how much room it would take. And most of these ships are they're designed off of the idea of this constant acceleration, where if the ship's moving, you have gravity from the acceleration, and you can walk around like normal, but when you're stationary at a dock or a space station or whatever, unless you're hooked up to a spinning space station, you are pretty much at the mercy of zero gravity or microgravity. I don't know. It's a cool book. It's a cool series. I enjoy it, and since somebody recommended one last week, I figured we'll try throwing this one in again, see if anybody picks it up. If you do, let me know, because I'd be interested in talking about it. It is a long series. I think they're up to book 11 now, but starting from the beginning, it's still a good read, and it's fun. So, alright, that's enough. I've talked you guys' ears off way too much again. I said it was going to be short, and it's not. So, sorry about that. I will shut up so you guys can later.
Alright, thank you very much, Ghost Shark, for your long Star Wars thing. I
didn't realize that they ate bowls of snot.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say last week from the Ahsoka book, with their entire like planet devoted to growing stuff. That's like they turn it into paste, and like that's described in the book. I don't think I said that, but
I'll just fall back to the Matrix term, bowl of snot.
Yeah,
mostly because it's a lot more descriptive.
What is it that they say that if you taste like shredded wheat or something like that? It's been a while since I've seen The Matrix. I should watch The Matrix.
Well,
that's a
here's
great
the thing:
movie.
is that maybe everything tastes like chicken because the machines they can't figure out what chicken tastes like, so they make it taste like everything.
I love that. That's probably my favorite sort of, I don't know, parallel or descriptor from the movie. It's like, holy crap!
No, don't you
what
mean?
If?
Whoa!
Those are pretty close to sync. It's gonna be close enough.
So you're going to edit that so it syncs up. You have to.
I'll do my best. So yeah, I enjoy your rebuttal. I actually really enjoyed listening to this and learning things, but I don't really know if I have anything to add to the discussion on it. I mean, we go back and forth on Star Wars a lot here lately on the show and with Star Wars RPG and all of that. So, I mean, it's good to learn, and that's an interesting sort of rebuttal or addendum you had to what the discussion we had last week, and I appreciate that, Ghost. I do want to say, when you brought up the book, I went and looked at your book recommendation, the Chris Longknife series. They look really interesting, and I'm going to buy the first one and read it, and if I like it, I'll buy the rest of them. Because it's been a while since I've really sat down and read some books, and I do enjoy, I mean, I listen to audiobooks all the time, but I do enjoy from time to time just sitting down and reading a book. And after we move, I think I'm going to take a couple of days to chill. And that would be a great time to read through a whole book. Or 2. Or 3.
Or however many it takes till the internet comes back up.
Yeah. So thank you for
You're going to become a frequent visitor of the local library.
I don't think Dayton has a library. Maybe they do. We could still go to the Cleveland Library, though. That's what we do now. Polk County has a library, but it's really crappy.
Oh, I bet I have a worse library than you.
Probably, but the Cleveland Library is real nice.
Let's put it this way. The local library, it's in this old donated house, and the sci-fi / fantasy section is this closet in this old bedroom of the house.
Oh,
it's not even a walk-in closet. It's you pull back. It has the sliding door, and it'd be like the clothes hang up right there. That's where they put the bookshelf.
Nice. The Cleveland Library has, I think, 14 shelves of sci-fi and fantasy, or 14 bookcases, not shelves.
This one, I think, would classify as 2. Granted, a lot of it, you would have to. You do have the inner library system where you could have them bring in books from other libraries, but let's just put it this way: it was not the shoot. I'm trying to think of the proper name of the series, but there was. I tried. It wasn't this one, but there was another series I was trying to get. I tried to get the Dresden Files series. Out of the entire county system, They had books 2 and I think 6.
Well, that's a problem.
And and both of them were low down as well.
Of course.
I was trying to think of the other series I was trying to get. It wasn't Jim Butcher, even though I've mentioned him twice so far in different series. But there was another fantasy series. Oh, shoot. Now I'm blanking on the series. It was Abercrombie, one of his book series. And Phil Tom, I'm looking it up now.
Okay. The one thing I think that I miss the most from Kerbalcast at this point is when they used to go on discussions about books and have book recommendations. So, can I make a request for the question of the week?
The First Law trilogy.
The what?
The First Law books. That's what I was looking for.
Okay. But can I
think of almost a Game of Thrones-esque.
I love Game of Thrones. I'm only on book 2.
It looks up like it's up to 6 novels now. There's the First Law trilogy, and then there's other novels. I was looking for books in that series, and the librarian, I said, it's by Joe Abercrombie. And she looked at me, who?
Well, there are a lot of authors in...
Yeah, well, true, but considering the book quote is from George R. Martin. Or Martin. I mean, yeah, he's not an unknown author.
Yeah. But, so anyway, so for this week's question of the week, can I make a request that people make book recommendations?
If you must.
Okay. I must. I need some new reading material, I think. But, so yeah, that was Ghost Shark.
Well, you already have my recommendation, the Codex Alera series. That's 6 books.
Yeah. This series is, I think, 14 books. 14. Ghost
or
said,
I could always throw in the other Jim Butcher series, Dresden Files. That's, I think, up to 15 now.
I've heard of the Dresden Files. I've never read them, but I've heard of them.
Damn good series. I think I'm only up to book 9 myself. I need to finish it off at some point. Granted, the series is still ongoing, but it's urban fantasy, so I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah. Ghost said that. He said, I think it was 11 books in the series, but there's actually 14, which not a huge issue, but I went and looked, and I was like, no, there's
And welcome back
11.
to the book portion of the podcast.
Yep. So anyways, let's move it on to what would be, at this point, the question of the week.
Oh, well, the question of the week for last week was, what would be or was your VR system seller? And we had Groove chiming in. Cheaper price tag and more real games. Which, bingo, Groove. There's mine as well. Jim, I tried the EVR demo that people were playing in the background of a video that he linked. Closest thing to Wing Commander in VR I'd seen. Which, that's a game series that's kind of died off.
Wing Commander?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. We figured out what mine would be. Get it for free when you buy something else. Which sounds... I really am excited about it. I'm excited to try it out, and I'm especially excited that it was, I don't know, an add-on, a pack-in, whatever you want to call it. So that's pretty cool.
And our only other tweet, well, we did have one from Jim talking about Subnautica, but that's a very timely tweet, and unfortunately, by the time the podcast comes out, the sale for Subnautica would be bye-bye. So we'll just skip over that to our other tweet. Kyle, hey, VGL podcast community. I have an itch to play Torchlight again. What class should I roll with? The community decides. And unfortunately, I don't remember Torchlight all that much. I beat it, but I remember Torchlight 2 a lot more, and I enjoyed the Engineer class, which I'm not sure was in the original Torchlight. I think what I played was a melee class, which I ended up having problems with the last section of the game because it turned out to be a lot of ranged characters to fight.
I've never played Torchlight.
I did tweet him and say that when he gets to Torchlight 2, I'd like to join him because I need an excuse to play through that again. And that does have online multiplayer.
You should be, just looking at the 3 classes, you should be the Vanquisher. Number 1, called the Vanquisher. Hello. Number 2, girl. Number 3, ranged weapons and traps. So that is my recommendation for the class you should play, having never played Torchlight.
I'm pretty sure I was the Destroyer class. And the other option is the Alchemist, which is essentially a mage.
Yeah. That's who I would play if I was going to play this game. But I'm not.
But the fun part is that these classes are not played in the second game because of, well, reasons. Teasing.
Tweeting back to Kyle right now. My tweet to him is very different from what I said right here.
What, you just want him to be a chick? But that's the community corner. If you wish to contribute to the community corner's absolute madness, you could tweet us at BGL Podcast on Twitter or email us bglpodcast@gmail.com.
Woo. All right. Well, let's move on to what is one of our favorite portions of the podcast to do. Discovery queue. I need to.
And your least favorite to edit.
Yeah, it's not so bad. I'm getting better at it.
The music makes it better.
And by better, I mean lazier. The music helps, though, because you can have a few extra seconds of silence with the background music. It just makes it less bad.
Speaking of less bad, that's definitely not my cue this week.
Hey-o. Yep.
Let's see. I got Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, which I've never played the series before. But it's a pre-order, which you shouldn't be doing.
Thou shalt not pre-order. I think I've played Sniper Ghost Warrior 2? Or maybe 1? I'm not sure, but that's... I mean, it's pretty intense. It's like the full...
Sniping
experience. You have to account for wind and...
If this is the series I think it is, there's different balancing things that you can turn on and off to make it more arcadey or more realistic. But it looks fairly decent. Pre-order, so you shouldn't be doing that. And it does have a season pass as well, which looks like it's all just added stuff, added toys more than anything else, which it's not what I like seeing in a season pass, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Ooh, here's a good one. Siberia 3. So the Siberia series is kind of a combination of old school point and clicks with modern 3D adventure type games, but it's not the Telltale model. I mean, it really is, I guess, I don't know, 3D point and click would be maybe a little bit too on the nose, but it's much more like that than it is like a Telltale game. What?
Oh, this looks terrible.
Okay, well, Siberia 3, though, good game. The first 2 are really good. The only problem I see with this one is it's got de novo, which, might be terrible. Yeah. But I'm going to put it on the list.
I put the name of the game I found. I want you to read that.
Okay. Let's see. Caveman World, Mountains of Unga Bunga.
This looks absolutely terrible. So bad I have to add it.
No, that's terrible. I'll put Siberia 3 on my wish list.
Oh, this is absolutely terrible. Who made this? Someone that shouldn't be proud of it. That's who. It looks like it's a self-published game. It's a self-published game, and it looks like it's... Oh, okay. This is a game dev that does a lot of essentially trading card build games. And I have quite a few of them. Some of them, the review copy, some of them, I think they are given away for free.
This is really interesting looking. Grayphobia. It's a third-person action RPG, but it's got a really interesting art style.
It looks like I got another CCG. This is not quite like what Varia does. It's a free-to-play. I'll throw it on the list because it actually looks somewhat decent. It's in early access, though.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to have to change this on the list so I'm ahead of you on that. So because the show notes I always have in alphabetical order. It's always backwards on our written notes. This is Shardbound. This is a CCG tactical CCG game, which is kind of an emerging genre. Granted, I have no idea how good this is, but it's interesting looking. If you don't want Varia, it's on your wish list. But then again, what isn't these days?
Yeah, I was gonna say I've heard of that game and have it on my wish list. I've just never played it. This is terrible, absolutely terrible.
As bad as what I listed?
It worse. The Last Hope, Trump versus Mafia.
Oh, God.
You are Trump, president of all the countries. Shortly after being sworn in, you travel to Europe for a conference, but your airplane is shot down by Mafia members. The Mafia and terrorists from all ex-countries join forces against you. Now you have to fix this mess. And, I mean, it just looks like digital homicide levels of bad. I'm putting it on the list as a go look at this and be sad or something.
Yeah, let's see. I'm at the end of my discovery queue.
Oh, I'm about halfway through.
Yeah, this looks like this is a fantasy RPG that's focused on turn-based party-based tactical combat. Interesting. It's a very minimalistic graphics. It's called Low Magic Age. It doesn't look terrible.
Oh,
it's early access though.
I put that on the list last week.
Oh, okay. Oh. Shows how much I pay attention. But it showed up in my queue.
I mean, if you liked it enough to put it on yours too, I don't see why you shouldn't.
Yeah, I'll be lazy. Besides, I already have 3. But that's my queue done.
Well, I'm blowing through my list. I'm getting a lot of trash. Yeah,
and not even trash enough to laugh at.
No, not good enough to mention. Yeah, that's my whole queue done. I got 3 too. Siberia 3, Grayphobia, and The Last Hope, Trump versus Mafia.
I just decided to look. I actually have a review copy of Last Hope, Trump versus Mafia.
Well, you could play it if you, I guess, wanted to torture yourself for 30 minutes. It looks real bad. And it's not even just their concept or their tagline or whatever. It just looks real bad.
Yeah, let's see who made this. Looks like. Oh, okay. Oh, all right. This is essentially a reskin of their previous game, which was just as bad, by the way, if not worse. Shockingly enough. The only difference looks like that it's in first person instead of third person, but just look up The Last Hope. It's essentially the same game, only... Oh...
Let's see.
Key features of this game. Travel through different eras of time. Find resources like fruit, fish, beer, water, and more that will help you stay alive. explore countries like Germany, Russia, U.S., Norway, Egypt, United Kingdom. There's no continuation or... let's say be pilot, driver, or sailor. Oh.
This looks real bad, too.
Yeah, they essentially are cashing in on people buying random Trump games. Why is this a thing, by the way? Could someone explain this to me?
I can't.
Well, that's because you're banned from the Donald.
Oh, I got banned from r/Xbox One for a couple of days this week.
What, you're letting your glorious tags flow?
Yeah, there's been a whole bunch of like Scorpion stuff because it got a leak or something last week. There's been a whole bunch of people...
You mean Scorpio?
Yeah, the Scorpio.
I'm still waiting for Sagittarius.
That needs to be a Taurus. That's my sign. But anyways, like there have been quite a few people posting stuff about it. And I just one day decided to be really snarky. And on every one of those posts that
just
people were asking... Well, you know. People were asking about the Xbox One. I went in and posted everything. Like, why would you buy this when you could just buy a PC? Like something like that. Like, why you could keep gaming on your PC, or you could just get a better PC or something like that. You know, stuff like that. And I got banned for, what's the first ban? 24 hours, 72 hours, something like that. I mean, I don't go on Xbox One very often.
Are you still Are you permanently banned from the Donald?
Yeah, I'm permanently banned from the Donald.
Well, I think I've figured out something for you to do. I got just go to the library, make a new Reddit account, and just see how long it takes you to get banned.
I've had 2 or 3 accounts get permanently banned from r/the Donald. I've got a Reddit account where I only post like fan fiction. I got it banned from r/the Donald. I've got a Reddit account for like posting weird stories that I don't want tied to my normal account. That's been banned from r/the Donald. And then I've got specifically an account where I'm just like an asshole to everybody on the internet, and that's been banned from r/the Donald.
And that's JMA47007, right?
Nope, I'm not going to tell you what any of those are. The only Reddit account you can know what it is Old and Busted. That's my main account. That's old_and_busted.
And if you wish to let them know exactly... Oh, wait, we're not there yet.
Alrighty. Well, that's both of our discovery cues, which means that we are headed that direction. It's time for the portion of the podcast where I go first, where I tell you about my stuff. So let's start with scheduling. If everything continues to go well, which it seems like it is, we're waiting to hear back from one of the inspectors that really wants a window to be fixed. It's gotten broken, like a lawnmower or something has slung a rock through the window.
He just wants to get the install up to Windows 10.
Haha. But I think I'd rather die than put Windows 10 in my actual windows of my house. But anyways, as long as there's no problem with that, we're looking to close on the house next week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like in there. And if that's the case, we're going to try real hard to just move next week. I mean, we've got a good chunk of our house packed, and we're going to pack some more stuff this week and this weekend, which means that next week will be the last, well, not the last, but the last one before the move, I guess, episode that we're going to do live. And then there's going to be at least 1 week of Franken content for sure, because I won't have my internet hooked up at the house. And maybe 2 weeks if there's some problem or something and it takes
Meanwhile,
charter.
Jared just goes absolutely nuts and I'm getting tweets. Help me.
I mean, I've downloaded a ton of PS2 ROMs. And...
No. I'm going to get text from Katie.
Oh, yeah.
He's driving me nuts.
He's going crazy. There's no internet.
Here's a bus ticket. Keep him busy.
But, so next week, there won't be any streams because, I mean, we're going to record Tuesday night next week. I'm going to edit real quick and then pack up my PC. So there won't be any streams next week for sure. No, nothing. And this week should be on track for normal stuff, but who knows? So that's just what VGL is going to look like. Next week, we'll have another live episode. And then at the very least, the next week...
We'll be doing it live?
Yeah. A normal recorded episode. And then the next week will be Franken content, and then maybe the next week will be more Franken content. We have 4 Franken episodes. I really don't want to have to use them all, but there could be problems. But I think just 1 or 2 will cover us. So there's that. As for what's coming up on my YouTube channel, a lot of Divinity. I want to get all my...
have, 20 episodes back?
Yeah. Well, there's 4 or 5 new ones that will have gone up this past week. So, yay. And I want to get through all of them before I have to pack up all my stuff. Because if they get lost, perhaps literally lost in the move, I doubt it, or more likely if they get broken.
You don't want to have to rip my copy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So my goal is to get all of those done. And I have up through episode 26 that I, in the last few days, have rendered. They're not uploaded yet. I'm up through episode 16 that's uploaded. And then through episode 25 or 26 rendered and everything ready to go. And my goal is to do the rest of them by next week at this time. And there are going to be many of them posted. So, hooray for that.
Content.
Woo. And then, after that, I have many ideas that I want to try out, see how they go, but we're still a few weeks away from trying those out. As for other things that I do, I stream 2 nights a week when I'm not moving house on Twitch. You can find me over on twitch.tv/jarthur4707. Play all kinds of games, multiplayer stuff with Rage and people from our audience/community. So if you want to come participate, you can come view and discuss at, once again, jarthur4707 or twitch.tv/jarthur4707. And if you want to join in on some of the games, hop on over to our Discord, which we occasionally post links to or plug. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so at JMA4707. Tweeted a lot about naps the last few days. I'm very tired right now. Also, I tweet about political things and video games and random stuff I find on the interwebs that I think is funny or infuriating. One of the two. You can follow me at JMA4707. And if you want to be my friend on Steam, where that I will talk to anybody and accept any friend request because I assume that everybody is cool, and so far no one has proven me wrong. My Steam username is jarthur4707.
And if you wish to let them know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week is bamboozled.
I feel like you've used bamboozled before. Have you?
I didn't see it on my list.
Okay. You've used a lot of words, so...
I used the present tense, not the past.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Do you need to step away for just a moment?
Okay.
Okay, quickly out of the elevator because, well, let's put it this way. 2.5 liters of water in a hot room doesn't work well for podcasting.
I got you. I'll probably go with the static transition, which is one that I use for really quick cuts that don't seem to flow together well. It's just like a half a second of like...
Yeah, let's just put it this way. I'm going to see if the fan actually can be edited out because it is 82 degrees in my room right now.
Oh, jeez, that is way too hot, man.
See, I've been suffering for you guys.
I think it's 67 or 68 degrees in here right now.
And that's why I've been drinking water like crazy today.
Yeah, the new office has got a little bitty air conditioner in it. Hopefully it's not too loud. But if it's not, oh man, it's going to be like 50 degrees from now on every time we do these recordings.
Hey, I'm suffering for you guys. What can I say?
Yes, you are.
But speaking of suffering, let's get to my content.
Indeed. What's going on your channel?
Well, things are pretty much stable for now. I need to record more Halo Combat Evolved. I'm out of my episodes, and I was kind of in a funk over the Easter weekend, so I didn't get to record. That's why the Sunday sampler didn't happen. I could have probably recorded it, but it was just family stuff, I guess. and just didn't feel like recording, so ended up just skipping, Divinity, which I have one episode remaining of my backlog, which that's going to be on hiatus. I may just hold that one episode until you get back from your move and let us sync back up.
Right. So that I can fall behind again?
Yeah, exactly. Or you'll just start releasing episodes early. I yell at you for releasing episodes early, and then you fall behind. Which happened before.
Indeed.
Because you were like a full episode ahead of me at one point. But then again, you also don't really have a set schedule like I do.
Nope.
Oh, let's see. RimWorld, I'm still ongoing on that one series. I have no idea how, because damn, this is over double my previous record now. Which is just astonishing to me. I have no idea when it's going to end at this point, which means that probably next recording session, the next first episode, everybody dies of dysentery or something. Hey, I've had 2 bouts of malaria so far, and I've only lost 1 out of 6 people, but it's absolutely drained my medical supplies. Hey, but you're in the colony now.
Woohoo!
Yeah, and well, Katie is probably going to be pissed at me.
Why?
Well, congratulations for getting married, Katie.
Who did she marry?
Well, let's just put it this way. There was a celebratory crate.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, what can I say? She must be attracted to the smell of rancid, jambalaya.
Yeah, she's attracted to something weird. She married me.
Oh, and Kyle showed up as well. And he's fucking useless.
Yeah, how's that different from usual?
But yeah, RimWorld's been interesting. A lot of missteps, of course. I mean, I'm at over 50 episodes of it now in this particular playthrough. But it's been a learning experience. And of course, Divinity, which is probably going to, like I said, it's going to go on hiatus. I need to record something to fill that time slot, but I'm not sure what. I may just, back off and, just run the 2 Let's Play series for a bit until Jared decides that, I'm done having a life. I'm ready to record some more.
Done adulting.
Darn you, Jared. Poor Katie. No wonder she ran off with Groove.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
But let's see. Of course, the Sunday Sampler should be returning this week. I have a couple interesting candidates. Assuming something doesn't, make me have trouble recording, because that sometimes pops up, or sometimes I'm just in a funk and don't feel like recording. And you can find all that over at Gaming with Caffeine Rage on YouTube, the podcast showing up there as well. Or if you wish to see me tweeting somewhat randomly about somewhat random stuff, I did have a couple political tweets lately. Actually, somewhat positive news coming out of my state about medical marijuana, which is a little shocking to see. Well, one, my backwards ass state wanting to get rid of opioids, because opioid addiction is just rampant here. But also, positive news about my state. That's weird. Let's just put it this way. If the records of police arrests and just all the oddities that happened here was as open as it is in Florida, we'd have West Virginia, man.
Virginia man.
Hey, West Virginia, man. Different state.
West Virginia man.
But it doesn't flow as well as Florida, man, so maybe not.
Florida man.
But that's Gaming of CR. I don't stream yet. I've been thinking about that, but it's one of those things that I need to get a second monitor to really to have it make sense. And, well, that's it for my stuff. So, podcast stuff. If you wish to contact us, speak while I do not. You can find us once again over at BGL Podcast on Twitter, or you can email us, bglpodcast@gmail.com, with your letters, voicemails, and gaming-related subjects, even though it seems like it doesn't have to be gaming-related to get on the podcast. Well, to be fair, there are Star Wars games, a few of them. Maybe one or two. If you wish to pay for this absolute madness, you could help us with our Patreon campaign, patreon.com/VGL podcast. All donations are greatly appreciated. And if you're not getting this through our RSS feed, you can find us over at bglpodcast.podbean.com. Or if you wish to use iTunes or Google Play, you can find us there as well. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod. You can find his music at incompetech.com. And our Discovery Key music is Doobly Doo, also by Kevin McLeod. You can find his music still at incompetech.com. And as the music starts to roll over Jared's voice...
Yeah, words to let the music roll. Then I say, why the fuck do you keep messing me up? Bye-bye now.
Because it's fun. That's why.
Bye-bye now.
And this time it was actually on purpose.
Yeah. Bye-bye.